One, two, three, and we're on. What's going on, Brian?
What's going on, Louis? How you doing, brother?
Good, bro. Welcome back after 2 years, 3 years of COVID. I know we've done one before. It was, I think, I felt like we were rusty, bro. So that's why I didn't want to use it. And I felt like, I don't know, like we went everywhere on that one. We were just talking. We hadn't seen each other in a while. It was just a lot of.
Yeah, man, my car got stuck in the snow that night in a parking spot. I saw some tire tracks that led into it, and I thought, I can make it in there. I'll be all right.
Oh, that's right. I remember now.
At the beginning. So I'm on my way in. I got Zaka tacos. We're hungry as hell. It was like in the middle of COVID. It was snowing like crazy, snowing for weeks at a time. Got stuck on the way in. You came out with a shovel and dress shoes helping me out and shit. I was like, dude, you're going to ruin your shoes. Get out of here, bro.
Dude,
Let me just shovel.
I remember that. I totally forgotten about that till you said that.
Sure,
Salud.
Sure. Salud. We sit here 2 years later in a place that you own. Got a lot of space in here, brother.
It's kind of trippy, huh?
Times change, dreams come true.
So,
You might not be a champion, but you get to choose whether you're a winner or a loser. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to become the champion, but
Same,
the
bro,
winner is
same.
good enough for now. Yeah.
Same. So, bro, the podcast, I'm bringing it back. I always like to I always like to ask people their stories, from when they grew up, where they grew up, how they grew up, all the stuff that they went through, their trials and tribulations.
Yep. That's a good place to start.
Yeah, and then I feel like that's how you find out who people really are. You know what I mean? Like, because a lot of times, dude, in business, you see people and you look at them like, you're like, man, that person's successful, and you try to ask them for advice and stuff. Some of it makes sense, some of it doesn't, because it's going to make sense if you're at that stage that they are. But if you're not and you're barely starting out, a lot of the stuff they tell you sometimes doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's why I like to talk to people and find out where they came from and how they came to be. And usually that there's a lot of answers there. You know what I mean? For a lot of questions that people might have that they're trying to figure out themselves.
Yeah, everybody has their own story to tell, and you can learn something from everybody, man. It could be the person on the street. Everybody's been through some stuff, and you wonder, what people have to overcome to be where they're at today,
Yeah. So let's start from the beginning, bro. Where were you born?
I was born on the southwest side of Chicago, right by Midway Airport, in the Garfield Ridge neighborhood.
Okay.
Very good neighborhood. I was born and raised there. Lived there most of my life. I moved out at 26. I lived in Justice for about a year before law school, and then
Where in Justice?
On Oak Grove, so right off of Archer Road there by like 88th or whatever that is, that weird T-bone.
Yeah. Where the hot dog stand?
intersection.
The hot dog stand
Over
is
that
it?
way, down that block over there.
I had a buddy that lived down there. We grew up there. We didn't grow up there, but like all through high school, that's where we would hang out.
Yeah, it's a good area. It was very peaceful, and I lived there for a while with my good friend Mike Morrison. He's a Marine, and so I rented a room off of him. And after that, I was living in River North for a little while, eventually downtown, and now I'm back. So I'm back in Garfield Ridge. That's the whole story. I'm back there now. I got a nice house. I couldn't be happier. I live on the same street that I grew up on, and I'm just one block down. So my mom and my brother still have the house on 58th and where I live, 58th Street, and I'm on 59th.
Okay.
So, I end up getting this nice house, man. It's like a split level brick. It's down the street from my mom, so I can visit her all the time. And then I walk my dog every day to the park. It's like 2 blocks down. It's perfect. It's right there. I'm not walking too far. But also, it's a nice way to start the day and get the dog out for a walk. But, as far as growing up over there, what was it like and whatever?
Yeah, so your parents, they were from here, or where were they from?
My dad came from Ireland in the 60s. My mom already lived here. So my mom was first generation American through her parents. Her mother was from the north part of Ireland.
Okay.
My father is from the south, so the northern part of Ireland is under, English control. It's under British control there. The 6 counties in the north. And then there's 26 counties in the south that are free, and that's where my dad's from. So they're independent Ireland. So my dad came from there. He had to work in this country, Wales. So Wales is its like own independent country within Britain. It's like they kind of fought to stand separately. So he went there to make money because there wasn't really much money in Ireland. He grew up on a farm. He was one of 10 children. And, they kind of fed themselves, lived off the land. My grandfather was a carpenter. All of them were involved in Irish sports. Like, they have their own sports there, similar to ours. And they were all involved in that. But he saved up money. He had $250 in his pocket when he arrived here in America. And he had some friends here from Ireland that moved over. There's a big wave of immigration, a lot of young people going over here trying to get jobs, trying to get work. And he had his brothers as well. And so, he lived the American dream, man. He took a million different jobs. He ended up becoming an electrician. And he worked construction for many years. He got to the point where he couldn't really work much longer. Construction's rough. It breaks your body down. He had 2 hips replaced.
Damn.
And, other stuff that he had to do because his body was just broken down from many years of being in the cold and lifting heavy shit and, the climbing ladders, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But he was a good guy. He was probably the one that shaped me the most. My mom was the nurturer and shit like that. And, she wasn't really the cook. My dad was always the cook in the house. So, my dad, he was like, he was just an average working guy. Where I came from around there, it was a lot of tradespeople, plumbers, electricians, firemen, policemen, all that.
Even now it's the same neighborhood, no? It's a lot of...
Very much, yeah.
Yeah.
It's working people there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of working people there and a lot of firemen, a lot of policemen. And that's because, when you're an emergency worker or a first responder, they require you to live within the city, so you're closer if you need to have some kind of mass response or whatever. If they need to call you up on your off day and you need to get your ass in, you're there. So, those folks want to live in peaceful neighborhoods, and it's one of the best neighborhoods left in Chicago, right on the south side at least. Clearing, Garfield Ridge, Beverly and Mount Greenwood on the south side, and then you have the whole north side.
Yeah.
But, the southeast side and the west sides are rough, so... But where I came from, it was good. It was just working people, and I was around people who were like my dad. My friends were like them. Their dads worked in different places too, warehouses, this and that. So they were just working people that worked hard, for $1. And so that's kind of what molded me. I could keep on going, man. I could tell you all sorts of shit that I've overcome to be where I'm at, but I don't know if that leads into your next question or what.
Oh, not a little bit. So where did you go to school right there? Where did you go to high school? In grade school?
Well, grade school I went to St. Joe's over here in Summit. Rest in peace. They're closed now. Likewise is St. Joseph's High School in Westchester, where I went as well.
They closed that down too?
Yeah, man.
When did they close? Last year?
Actually, I think it was just the exact same time as they closed St. Joseph's Grade School. So I want to say that was 2019 or 2020.
Yeah.
In fact, it might have been 2020 because I think COVID was kind of the nail in the coffin for a lot of these places,
Well, I know, St. Joseph right here, it had to do with the church and all that other stuff, and I guess they owed money.
They had a couple $1 million in debt, yeah.
Yeah. So I know that's been a big subject here in Summit.
They didn't have the money, It's expensive now.
Yeah. How was that going to Catholic school? Was it co-ed or was it?
Well, grade school was mixed, and it was a small school, man. Like my graduating class had 30 kids. A lot of the kids.
I was going to ask you. It is a small building. It was one through first.
It was first through eighth, or they had kindergarten too. I went to kindergarten there as well. But it wasn't the biggest building or whatever, but it just wasn't as popular as some of the other schools. So in my neighborhood, St. Daniel's was like a very popular school. Mm-hmm. It was just well known as having a good reputation of being a good quality education. But when I was going to school as a kid, I had to get on a wait list, and my parents didn't want that. They're like, we're not going to have you waiting for, pardon me, a year or two just to get into school. We just need you to go now. So I ended up going to Joe's, which was good. Things work out for a reason. It was for the best. You also had like St. Sims over there, and they had Byrne Public School, Dorr, Hale has a school over there.
How many kids were in your class in St. Joseph?
Like about 30 at the grade school.
Really?
And I'm still friends with them to this day,
Yeah.
Like the mayor Summit went there. He was older than I was at the time, but his sister is a close friend of mine. We graduated together, and there's like.
But they went to the grade school, then they went to Argo afterwards, no?
Yeah, a lot did, but they kind of, some of them continued in the Catholic tradition because a lot of these kids that I went to school with, their parents went to Catholic school. You know what I mean? They wanted their kids to do the same thing.
Right.
So like kids from St. Joseph's Grade School, they went to St. Lawrence, Queen of Peace, IHM, whatever, St. Joe's for the guys, all sorts of different schools, you know, on the south side, Brother Rice, Mother Macaulay, all that, you know.
Is it still popular, like Catholic schools, or no? What do you think? I don't know.
I mean, they're dying, man.
Yeah.
You know, like, when, you know, the thing is that working people, and even people that are even more well-to-do than working people, are having a hard time affording those Catholic school prices. Like,
They're fucking ridiculous. It was like college.
well, that's why a lot of them are closing. So the grade school, they were having declining attendance, and they had small classes to begin with. Costs were going up, and they couldn't get people that would pay whatever it was. I don't know what the tuition was at the grade school when
Yeah.
it closed, but when it closed at the high school, they were almost $16,000 a year. That's more than I paid to go to college, by almost double. So I went to UIC. It was like $8,000-9,000 a year tops when I was going there. It might have been like $7,000 or $8,000, whatever it
Yeah.
was. So I got a college degree for the same price that they're charging almost double that for a high school education. So the reason they're closing is the declining enrollment. People can't afford it anymore.
That's true.
It's wild, you know, and it's a shame. I mean, you don't even have to be super religious or be super Catholic to value that experience. Because, like, at best, I'm like a Christmas Catholic, right? You see
Yeah.
me in church at Christmas, Easter, you know, if you're
Yeah,
lucky,
yeah.
right? I'm
Yeah.
friggin' honoring the Lord on Easter and shit when he rose, you know?
Yeah.
But in any event, you know, it's just people, you know, it's tough out there. The costs went up and the tuition wouldn't keep up with it because people couldn't afford it and they're closing, man, you know?
I remember you were telling me like your dad used to cook all the time. What was your favorite dish that he would make?
I mean, he made good tacos for an Irish dude.
Really?
And, yeah, I mean, they were Americano, but they were fucking fire, though.
Yeah, they were good.
You know what I mean? He took pride in that, and they were good, man. I'd eat till I was fairly full. You know,
Yeah.
I'd eat probably 4 of them or 5 of them sometimes, and he'd do the same. So we had that in common. But he, all sorts of stuff, man. Pork chops, pork steaks, fucking regular steaks, burgers, whatever. He always made it big and plenty, man. You want to make sure that you were fucking well fed by the time you left that table, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was good with breakfast, too.
Was he?
He'd make you a couple of fat pancakes and some fucking sausage patties. So he'd cut up the patties, man, himself. You know what I mean? He'd get like the roll or whatever, and just make you a fat sausage patties and stuff. Like, I had friends when we first started drinking, and they'd crash the night or something like that, you know, so they didn't have to drive.
Yeah.
And he'd make breakfast in the morning. You know, you'd wake up and you're fucking half hungover and shit. You're fucking hungry as could be, and you smell that coming in from the kitchen, because Irish people are like all about their breakfast, man.
Are they?
They like their ham, their eggs, their bacon. When they go out there to fucking hustle, bro, like they have a lot in common with the Mexican people and the Polish people, the hardworking motherfuckers, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So like, they need that fuel because
Yeah,
they're
it gets
already
to hold
high
you
energy
over.
people, and they want to get that eggs and that bacon, that protein in them, just be ready to like kill in the morning, dude.
Yeah.
My dad, he'd be on a job site, and they'd do like a bungalow a day. They would just friggin' bend all the pipe, have it fully piped into all the walls, and maybe run the wire. Like, that's an insane amount of work to do in one day. But the
dude.
contractors were trying to make buku bucks,
Right.
so they're trying to build 1,000,000 homes, and they want these guys fucking hustling. And he's like, I couldn't do that shit forever. You know, you're carrying all that heavy pipe off the truck, bending it. You're in really cold weather.
Yeah.
These guys would be in the drive-through, and they were
Dude,
like,
and back then it was all hands. It wasn't like they didn't have power tools like today. I mean, like the shit.
they had, when he was doing it, they had a lot of the shit we have today.
Yeah, you
but
think so?
maybe not as advanced. You know, they're a little more rudimentary. They might,
Nah.
like, some of these ones now have like swivel heads, and you can get them in any angle you need. And
No, I
shit.
got the
like,
pipe. I got that shit downstairs. I'll show it to you. No, I've seen like what they had to use before. Because now they have some really cool power tools for them. Before they didn't have all that stuff to bend pipe like that.
Yeah, they were doing it a lot of time manually.
Really?
When they were bending, they would just, you know, I think you're right now. I think they have machines for that or whatever.
Yeah.
But they would use just the old school. It's like a straight pipe with a
Yeah, have it
bender
downstairs.
on the bottom, and that's
It's
it.
the little
Yeah.
half circle thing. Just
I
fucking
think
crank
he
it.
would tell me they'd make a bunch of bent ones. They would make like a bunch of 90s because they knew they'd have a ton of curves to go around. So he's like, we take like stacks them at a time, 10 or 12 of them, just bend them all into 90s, and then, you know, they had a bunch of them ready to go. But
Yeah.
fuck that, man. You know, it's you can keep up that kind of pace when you're younger, but you get older, and that's, some jobs aren't meant for like full-on careers for the rest of your life. You know what I mean?
Think
You're
about
gonna
it,
be up
like-
on a roof at like 70 years old, or, you know, into your 60s or something.
Think about it. Back then, you know, a trade job, you get it right out of high school. You'd work your 20 years,
Yeah.
and that's it. You know, in your 40s.
20 years goes by real quick, bro.
Yeah,
You've
you're
been
in
working
your-
there since high school. You put in 22 years. by
Yeah,
the
I would've
time
been
you're 40
retired
years old
already.
and shit. Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, and if you think about it, yeah, like you're in your 40s, you're retired, but again, people didn't live as long now. You know what I mean? Like, things are different.
Things are different. You know, it's some of it's minor, right? Like people didn't really take like vitamins, supplements. They didn't
That's another
realize the
thing.
importance of sleep.
Yeah.
They, you know, there was a time when people thought smoking was healthy, and you know, they drink a lot, and like now, like people. Yeah, unfortunately, in your business, you probably feel it. People, I don't know. I think this business is recession proof or whatever. But the point is,
what I
like,
tell
people
people.
don't smoke anymore and shit. Like, people are living a healthier lifestyle now. You know, whatever. Like, we have more medical advances. The care is better. You can treat things more easily. Like, we live longer because, like Rogan always says, is like back in the day, like 40, 50 years old was almost dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, people get in their 60s, they die. Like, life expectancy now, most people are living probably almost 80 or something like that.
He had an economist on the other day, and he was talking about how in Russia, like the life expectancy is to like 60.
In the 60s, yeah.
The 60s.
But they don't live very long over there.
No, because fucking. Yeah, I wasn't a big breakfast guy.
That was a great podcast, by the way. I
Yeah.
just started listening to it now. He's
That-
like a global affairs guy.
You know what? A lot of people didn't agree with
He
him.
reassured me a lot by listening
Yeah,
to that.
but you gotta realize, like I told a couple of people, they're like, nah, it's just his opinion. Like you gotta realize, though, he's an economist. Economists don't look at anything the way everybody else does.
I've never heard of an analysis delivered as smoothly as he did. Like,
Yeah.
it was very persuasive.
Have you ever read Freakonomics?
You know, I read about half of it. I never finished it all the way through. I have
That's-
the book. I
that
never got through it,
book,
but
if
the
you
first
like-
half was pretty interesting. Yeah.
Like it was super controversial, but because they would take just like the head subject and then be like, oh, well, how is that? You know, because there was one like on how it related abortion to crime. There was another about drug dealing and taxes. Like there was a bunch of different ones in there that
Yeah.
were case studies. But the thing is, they're economists, so they look at it. They look at it numbers wise. They don't
This
look
is
at
not
it.
about being offensive, motherfucker. This
Yeah.
is just what we see based on like
Based on
factual
facts.
observation or
Yeah,
like number
exactly.
observation. Like,
Yeah,
not-
that's it.
as long as they're not making up the numbers, like if it
Yeah,
shows
they're
what it
not.
shows, like what are we doing here?
But yeah, that was a good one. I like that one a lot.
That was very
Economists are always really good.
Well, I'm only like halfway through with that one, but I'm gonna finish it up. He was he knew a lot about global affairs and trade, and also about intelligence. I mean, he knew a ton of stuff about you know, what the president of friggin' China and Russia are doing. Like, he was saying that like they'll hear when they try to spy on the Chinese president, they hear silence because people are too afraid to stand up to him. But in Russia, they can listen in on Putin's conversations. Apparently, that's kind of crazy. It's crazy that he's discussing this.
That's what I was thinking.
On the podcast. Like, you're telling 10 million people now, and it's going to spread all over the place. Like, if I'm China, Rogan has got to be my #1 podcast. If I was Xi Jinping, I'd be sitting there all day getting fucking furious in my office when he has on anybody anti-China and shit.
Yeah, but on just being
Or not
devil's
Xi
advocate
Jinping.
on it. But if you think about it, like, or China's really, really advanced, and we have no idea what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, they're either as advanced as an alien race or they're fucked. Like he was
Yeah.
basically saying, you know what I mean? Or they're a paper tiger. They seem big on paper, and then they're not really as fucking bad as you think they are. I think it's somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Like, they have been working very hard on their military stuff for a good 20 years where we were focused on terrorism. So that guy made that point in the podcast, and that was something I was reading a book called The Kill Chain about. It's written by, like, Senator McCain, the, former, now deceased Senator McCain, his, like, chief of staff, and he was also on, like, the Senate Armed Services Committee or whatever, so this guy knows his shit. And he's like, dude, they focused on terrorism for, like, 20 years. He's like, in the meanwhile, China was building up their conventional military in order to fight us with, like, more advanced weapons where it's integrated with technology more than our shit is.
Yeah.
So we have realized that, thankfully. Apparently we've now woken up and we're kind of starting back in the right direction, but we're behind of it. So they've gained some ground there. But apparently, that guy was saying on the fucking show that China's possibly overestimated its population by like 1 billion people. So they say they have like 7 billion, and they're saying it might only be 6. They had that one-child policy for a long time. For people who don't know what that is, you were only allowed to have one female child, and any after that would have to be aborted because they would only wanted male children.
Yes.
So they have a highly male-populated society. They live in polluted cities. They are now experiencing the worst of COVID. Apparently, they're seeing COVID over there. We're on their second or third infection of COVID. It's now becoming deadly pretty quickly. So they have some kind of bad strain that it sounds like they have some kind of bad strain they're experiencing right now. And they're aging. Apparently, they're aging. They're getting more fat because, like, food is a sign of wealth over there.
Yeah,
so
that's
like
true.
their health is declining. So he's
That's
like,
all over Asia.
although economically it sounded like they're in a position to take
Yeah.
over or try to shift the world's influence, they're highly dependent on us.
Yeah.
They depend on us for ingredients they put in their food. They import a lot of food. And then Russia, they were saying their population is fucked. They lack a lot of people in that age group from like 17 or 18 up to like our age in their 40s. It's like, dude, they have a lot of people who are like 50 years old now or older, and they weren't having children at a rate fast enough to replenish their population. Like the Russian people are kind of dying out in some sense. If that's correct, that's serious for those countries, you know? Like it's a weakness.
Yeah.
So it made me feel a lot better as an American after listening to it. I'm like, fuck, all I've been hearing about lately is China and Russia and shit. Like, I don't know if you heard this or saw this. The Chinese and Russian militaries are flying joint plane operations together. And like at a time when fucking Putin just invaded Ukraine, it's a little unsettling, you know?
Yes and no. Honestly, like, I think just looking at what happened in Ukraine, Russia and China are never going to invade the United States of America. I doubt that's even plausible. They could. I mean, like everybody has joint military operations together. Like they all practice together.
We don't practice with the Russians and the Chinese.
Yeah, but dude, like if it's like they could practice all they want. It's not like they're gonna do anything. I mean, I think everybody else on that part of the world might have to worry about them. But at the end of the day, I feel like we're safe. I doubt if they can't take over their neighbor in less than a month. I mean, they have to go through the ocean to get to us. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I've been to China, bro. It's not. We're not gonna go there, and they're not gonna come here.
We would probably have a better go of it if we went there because, well, what I mean is like
geographically, it's a nightmare, dude.
Yeah, well, the geographic part of it would be tough, but we'd probably take over nerve centers first, like the major cities, Beijing, Hong Kong. Or well, Hong Kong is kind of.
But their cities are weird. They're not like ours, bro. They're super spread out.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, so I went to Shanghai. We got to the airport. We took the bullet train. The bullet train into the city. Did we take the bullet train, or am I lying to you? I'm lying to you. We didn't take the bullet train into the city. We took a little van into the city from the airport. But dude, it's like probably like maybe from here to like O'Hare, or maybe a little bit farther out. And all it is, it's just like, it's weird, because when you're there, it's like all these high rises from when you start driving. It's all these like high, you know how like here you drive through suburbs, you drive through everything else. In other countries, the same thing. You'll drive through like jungle, or you'll drive through a desert. There, you're just driving, and it's all like open land, and then all of a sudden it's just like huge building complexes, like 10-story, 12-story, or bigger buildings. They look like projects, like the old school projects in
So it's
Chicago.
just like some Chinese projects over
Just like, but major ones, bro. When I'm talking about a lot, I'm talking about like huge, like big developments just everywhere. So you're just
You mean
driving
like
and
cities
driving.
of like project buildings? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, bro. Like I'm telling you, like the cities are like maybe the closest I've ever seen to something like that, where it's super spread out like that, and it's just the big cities like Mexico City. I don't know if you've ever flown out in or out of Mexico City.
Not out of Mexico City. I've been to Mexico, but I've not been to Mexico City.
Mexico City, it's just huge. Like you could see the city for miles and miles away, even when you're flying up. And see, like here in Chicago, you fly up, you see the downtown area, then you start seeing the suburbs. Over there, bro, it's just like all fucking buildings for fucking till the eye can see. Like it's
so they
weird.
just are living on top of each other in project houses, dog?
Well, the other thing that they always say about China is that they keep on developing buildings and stuff, and nobody lives in them.
Yeah, I heard they have empty buildings. It's called ghost cities.
Ghost cities.
So they built it in anticipation of all their growth, and that shit didn't happen, so they have a problem.
Yeah, so like when you go there, you'll see why. Like it's weird. So strategically, like I wouldn't want to go there, and I don't think we have any business trying to go over there.
Well, what I mean is like, if somebody invades here, we're the most well-armed country in the world. Like there's more guns here than there are people. Everybody owns fucking guns. And that's why we don't have Chinese or Russian government, because at least we're armed. If shit gets real bad, like, people aren't going to stand for that shit, you know?
Yeah, and again, bro, like...
That's how America got started.
Yeah, and I don't see anybody that's going to come in to...
If they came here, like, dude, every MAGA Trump supporter from every corner of the country would be at the coast, like, with their AR-15s. You have Kyle Rittenhouse would be resurging back and shit like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They'd be out there fucking ready to go. Like, people... I swear to God, some of these fuckers probably wish somebody would fuck around to try to find out.
there's
Just because everybody, you know what, they may not be militarily trained, but they know how to shoot a gun or whatever. They'd be out there blasting these people for trying to invade.
There's too many people with
Be
too
wild.
much time here in the United States that are just waiting for something like that to happen.
No shit.
But
You ain't kidding.
but let's go back
Some of
to
these crazy fuckers.
let's go back to so you went to high school and then you went to after that you went to UIC then after St. Joseph.
Yeah, so after St. Joe's, I actually went to Marine Valley Community College.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, I'm blessed that my family placed a high value on education because, you know, I was wild and, you know, when I was young, I was in a heavy metal band, right? I thought I was going to be a rock star.
Okay.
Now I kind of still feel like a rock star. I'm just in a different line of work.
Yeah.
But in any event,
Go ahead, bro. I'm just making sure the mic is where it's supposed to be. My bad.
is it good?
Yeah, it's good. It's just.
It seems like it's picking up the sound over there on the thing.
Yeah, it's picking up. No, so what it is this mic, it'll pick up all the way around,
Yeah.
or it'll pick up in front. But I had them set on picking up all around instead of up in front.
I got you.
But so since we don't really talk over each other, we're fine. But it'll sound better now.
So we're good?
Yeah, we're good, bro. We're good.
Okay,
My
okay.
bad.
No worries. So anyway, I was in a heavy metal band. Thought I was gonna be a rock star. I went to Marine Valley, and then to UIC, then to John Marshall. But there's a lot of shit in between, man. So like, my dad always was trying to instill a good work ethic in me, and he wouldn't just give me stuff. Like he'd be like, you can go to work and you can earn it. So I started caddying at age 13. You know, carrying golf bags. I fucking got legs that were strong as fuck. I was actually proud of them. Like, fuck, man. Short young Irish dude going around ready to fucking go, son. My legs are on swole, right?
Yeah.
From just fucking walking up hills and all over fucking 5 miles on a golf course and shit.
Which golf course was it in?
Riverside
Oh, okay.
Country Club. Yeah. So I was there, started doing that at 13, and now I got the nice fucking air dyno and the 5 CD player, you know, if fucking nobody has CDs anymore or whatever, unless they're in the closet somewhere. But anyway, so I got all that nice shit when I was younger, but I worked for it, right? So my dad wouldn't give it to me, but I earned it. And then,
Right.
so, you know, I left there by like 18 or something. No, at 16 I started working at the grocery store, and by 18 I stopped caddying. I probably should have stayed on with it a bit longer. The money was good. It would have kept my ass in good shape.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes you're just running too. Sometimes you just go out ahead and make sure you see where everybody's balls are landing when they're playing golf or whatever. And you know, so you'd get good exercise that way too. But after that, I was working at the grocery store. I fucking worked at a car dealership as a porter. I worked
What grocery store you used to work at?
Shop and Save,
Okay.
but it was the one on Narragansett and 63rd.
Yeah, that one right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's Fair Share, so a new owner bought it, like, after, or no, I was still working there at the time under the second owner, but I was close to that end when I was getting ready to quit, but I left there.
What would you do there?
I was a cashier, I bagged groceries, I fucking stocked shelves, like, whatever they needed me to do, I kind of did almost everything. I was getting their carts out there hustling,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Old cougars fucking looking at you, fucking sweating, putting those cards back in.
That was my my grocery. Like my parents, they used to love that grocery store.
It was it was good sometimes. Like, I don't want to disparage them or anything.
They stopped going because
You learn a lot of secrets when you work somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they stopped going there too after they heard a couple of things.
There's other places. There's better places to go, but
Yeah.
whatever. No disrespect. But in any event, so I worked at an auto body shop. I worked at a car repair. I worked at fucking
You said a car dealership too?
car dealership. I was a porter over there.
I worked for a month at a car dealership. It was the best job I ever had.
Why?
It was sales. I think I learned more in 1 month in sales at a car dealership than anywhere else, bro. Like, they put you through such a fucking sales boot camp there. Like, from the first day, like, I've never experienced nothing like that. And I've never seen anything else like that in no other industry. Like, that's fucking, like, by the time you walk onto the lot, they already have you measured up and ready to go. Like, it's all a script. It's all an act. You have no control once you walk on that lot. I don't give a fuck who you are or what you think. Once you walk on that car dealership, you're theirs. They fucking they're in charge of the show. Like they do. They used to have fucking scripts for us, and actually they would run through it. They would run us through them, and then
So this color is best for you. You ready to sign now?
Yeah,
I'm
dude.
gonna have you sign here. Just sign here.
They
We'll
would-
get you sit down inside.
Yeah,
We'll get you financed. We got financing here.
if you qualify for that financing, you're walking out, and you were thinking about buying a car, you're walking out with a car.
With
They
the like
fucking- yeah.
70% interest rate or something.
Yeah, dude. Like, yeah, I remember. I still have the books. They were fucking intense. They at the one that I used to work at, they used to listen in on your phone calls, and then they would come and tell you, come here.
Coach your ass.
Yeah, and then they would come and
Wow.
tell you, and they'd be like, hey, and they would make you sit through the phone call with them, and he'd be like, when he said this, why don't you say this? And he would bring out the script or the book. He's like, look, this is what you should have said, because he would have said this, and dude, and they fucking like they have a whole.
You got to check with your wife first. I understand. Both you guys need to come down here. There's one that you're gonna love. Tell her
Yeah.
she's gonna love it.
Yeah.
And like you got to see it. I'm gonna give you a free tank of gas. I'm gonna detail it for you. You get free oil changes for the first 2 years. I'm giving you credit. I'm giving you $2,000 credit. I'm gonna give you an extra $1,000 because your wife needs to approve this stuff too, man.
Yeah, because like I remember the old let me go talk to the manager, and it wasn't. You would literally just go to the manager and he'd be like, "So what's going on?" Like, man, I'm trying to get them down to this, or they want this. He goes, nah, you know, like you weren't
You're
talking
learning
to the manager about
negotiating,
nothing.
like,
Yeah,
101.
yeah,
Like-
yeah. He was just coaching you on what to tell them. He wasn't telling you. He wasn't gonna bring the price down. And then it would be like, so you were supposed to go to the manager until they were gonna walk out. Once they were gonna walk, then you tell the manager, "All right, bro, now I need you." Then you'd walk up to the manager and tell him, "Hey, bro, like they want to walk out." All right, then the manager would be like, "All right, I'll be right there." And then he talks him back down, and then he helps you fucking close the deal. Once the manager comes to the desk, leave or don't talk to the manager because you're gonna buy that car. That's fucking it. I'm telling you.
Sounds like a fucking telenovela, man. It's a real drama. There's a
There's a couple
act
good
to it.
movies, like old movies from like the 70s and 80s
Yeah.
on car dealerships. I wanna watch them. I watched them a long time ago, but they're pretty accurate on how fucking car sales go.
They're wild places to work.
Yeah, they are.
Joey Diaz, the comedian, has this story where he talks about when he moved out to Colorado and he was working at car dealerships there, and he painted a very interesting picture. Like, he was saying the same things that I experienced. Some of these salesmen, cocaine addiction,
Yeah.
DUI. Like,
Dude.
there was guys that had so many DUIs, they'd ask me to drive the fucking car for them, and I was like, why is this asshole asking me to drive the fucking car from the back to the front or the front to the back? And my guy's like, oh, you know why he's doing that, right? I'm like, no. He's like, he's had 3 DUIs. He's like, that's 3 strikes, you're out. You don't have a license anymore. I'm like, oh, no wonder his wife's giving him a fucking ride to work every day.
Yeah, dude.
These were the kind of people we worked with. They're selling you a car and they can't even drive one themselves.
They fucking yeah, like every day it was like, let's go drink after. And then it was crazy because
Jesus.
it's a commission-based job, you know what I mean? But like they'd be like, oh, fuck it, I made this much today, let's go party. And they go fucking spend it all night because they knew that, you know, they had just made that. Like it's a crazy experience. It was a crazy cool experience, but it just wasn't for me. Like, so I stopped.
Yeah, man. Some people are lifers in that shit, you know, like you
You
have
make
this,
good money,
yeah, I mean, I'm sure they do, you know.
but it's just not for
'cause-
everybody.
You know, like the real estate market dips, but people always need a car to get around, whether they're renting or whatever. So, but yeah, it's a crazy business. A lot of characters in there, man.
Yeah.
A lot of fucking characters I met, but yeah, you can make real good money if you're a good salesman. You're selling a lot of fucking cars, dude. But you know the deal about wealth. It's not about what you make; it's about what you keep, man. So, you know, it's nice to go out and party and celebrate, but when that's part of the lifestyle, part of the culture of that job, it's not good for your finances. You know what I mean? I don't think you're gonna find fucking Tony Robbins telling you to do that shit, right?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? You know
that's
what I mean?
true. Then through all those jobs, what was your favorite job?
Fuck. You know, the caddying was really cool, man, because
Yeah.
like, you know, there's a movie Caddyshack, and you know, if you guys haven't seen it, I don't know, you might be able to find it on Netflix or something, one of those other streaming services. But that movie was funny as fucking hell, man, and that was old school shit, right? Like, you know, smoking weed, drinking, they'd have parties. Oh, so and so was hooking up with so and so. Like, there was a lot of politics. you met a whole bunch of characters, dude. You met people you'll never forget for the fucking rest of your life. Like, you know, like the movie Sandlot, you fucking watch that shit, you reminisce and shit like that, all the kids playing baseball. Like,
Right.
those were the fucking kids, right? Trading fucking cards and playing cards. Fucking Red Hot Chili Peppers, Californication album just dropped in like fucking 99, 2000 when I started doing that shit. We'd fucking
Yeah,
be
yeah.
ripping that shit, dude, when they were rock stars. Those were some of the most memorable times of my life, man. Going
Yeah.
to huge concerts. I remember right around that time, I went to see the Red Hot Chili Peppers. They played in Orland. They headlined the fucking Q101's like Summer Jamboree or some shit. It was Red Hot Chili Peppers, The Offspring, fucking just the music was echoing and shit. Like those were times I was having. I used to go to concerts with those kids from caddying. They'd have house parties. We slept in the fucking caddy shack and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like police came by, they had fucking flashlight or the fucking spotlight on their car, and they would like kind of flash it through the window, see if they saw any movement, and they'd fucking leave, and we're all like fucking like this, hoping they're not walking up with their flashlights and shit.
It was you guys just partying in the.
We would go there after to sleep
Oh, yeah.
because we were all so young and nobody wanted their fucking parents to know they were out drinking, right?
Oh, no
so you'd be a
shit.
teenager, you'd be like 15, right? 14, 15,
Yeah,
already
yeah.
drinking beers because these fucking guys were all assholes. All these people that grew up here on the south side, their dads drank beers, or they're fucking drinking beers. A lot of time these assholes that stop at the bar and have a couple beers before they even go home to the wives and shit. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? Like these are the kind of guys we're talking about. So these kids all started drinking young, right? Fucking house parties and shit.
Yeah, yeah.
So we would fucking drink, and then the one that didn't drink would fucking drive us in like a van over to fucking Caddy Shack and drop us off. And we either had the key under a rock or some shit, or one of the doors would be open. We'd leave it open on purpose, and we'd just go in there and fucking sleep. They had
No
like
shit.
a couple couches and some lazy boy chairs and shit.
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
that was a lot of fun, man. It was like one of those times when you're risk takers, you didn't have a fucking care in the world, and you had a little money in your pocket.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun, but the grocery store was fun. It was like, it reminds you of an old classic rock song, like fucking the young girls used to bat their eyes at you and people, you know, fucking you'd be falling in love and shit for the first time.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome, dude. You know, everybody was young and beautiful. You didn't fucking have to worry about shit.
Yeah.
You know, drama didn't have any real consequences. So the grocery store was cool. I have lifelong friends there now. There's a couple brothers are police officers, and I fucking hang out with them. And they usually have like a couple of nice parties each year, and I'll go out to hang out with them. So that was great. The fucking car dealership, met some real characters there. I feel bad I don't really keep in touch with them as much, but I was meeting these guys from Berwyn and Cicero who were like different brand of the same Savage, if that makes sense. Like they were cut from the same cloth.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's a saying in Spanish, I don't know how you say it, but it's like, oh, they're cut from the same cloth. And that's who these guys were. So it was cool to get to know these dudes because I was going to St. Joseph's with a bunch of dudes from like fucking Berwyn, Cicero, Westchester. All these guys were characters. And then I met more dudes from Berwyn through like the country club or from, you know, caddying. And then from working at the car dealership, I met a couple guys over there that like, I'll have to reach out soon because we had some great times, man.
Yeah.
These people like to drink, they like to smoke, they like to do both at the same time. Some of their parents own bars or they know where all the house parties were at.
Yeah.
These guys would get so drunk before they even went there. Like pre-gaming for them, like they were pretty much hammered by the time they got there. Like you don't
Really?
need to even barely drink anything when you get to where they were going.
What
They played it off really well too.
which job you think taught you the most?
People I stay in touch with
No, I mean like life lessons.
from my jobs.
Yeah. Or where do you think you learn the most?
Well, you know, life lessons from the jobs, like when you're younger, you know, I said something one day that made somebody feel really bad, so you got to watch the power of words can hurt people, you know, and, you know, they can cause them to think differently of you. You know, so watch what you say. Words are power. You know, they're powerful, they have weight, they affect people, and knowledge and information is power too. So like, you know, when you're dealing with other people, you don't want to, like if you have some beef with them, like talk to them one-on-one. Don't say it in front of everybody or whatever, you know, just little things like that. But you know, from caddying, it was just hard work, you know what I mean? And you know, it's a job where you stay fit too. It's a lot of fun. From the grocery store is like, you know, do what you do it well. Like, get to know people. Like, be nice to people, because like you're gonna be dealing with people all day long. You could say nothing to them. You could be rude to them, or you could, you know, hey, how you doing? Get to know these people. A lot of them are regulars and shit, and you learn how to put things in order. Like what way people like their stuff. Like eggs separately. Put the bread on top of that so you're not smushing the bread. Right. Keep keep items together. Don't be putting fucking Lysol in with the friggin' bananas and shit. Like, keep those separate. You don't want. What if it's leaking? Right? You're gonna ruin their fucking. You know what I mean? So you learn to be organized. You learn to work under pressure too, because sometimes it's super busy in those places, and you got to get people moving. You know.
Yeah.
So I guess just poise under pressure and interacting with people. Do it well, and don't stab people in the back. Don't make them feel bad. I don't know, man. Another, like, I worked a couple other jobs. Like, I worked after the auto body dealership. I worked at Sears for a while. I was in sales and was in lawn and garden. And then I worked at Menards, and lastly at Office Depot. I also worked in a law firm too, so there's a lot of shit in that era, right? So like, the Menards era was right after, I think, the auto body shop. Or no, that was after Sears. So Sears, I was still in college. I was at Marine Valley. I'd fucking be out drinking and shit, and like still go to class the next day. I'd crash at my guy's house or whatever. And
Which Sears? The one on Chicago Ridge?
The one in Chicago Ridge, yeah. So
that was my Sears, right?
I was selling lawn and garden in there, man. So that was my straight up sales job.
Yeah.
And you got little commissions and shit. You can make good money doing that, man. I remember, making checks that were like almost 1,000 sometimes, and that was good money when you were like, per week, right? So that was like good money for when you were just in your 20s and you didn't have to pay like a house note or anything yet. Like, but you could take a girl out for a nice date or some shit, man, and step out on a Saturday night. But there I learned to be reasonable and to be careful, too, about your safety. So, like, in lawn and garden, people like to steal those fucking items. People try to walk out with, like, chainsaws and fucking heavier equipment. It was expensive back in the day. And right now it's all mass-produced shit or whatever for the most part.
But dude, try to steal it from
exceptions. Yeah, man. So, like, I was good friends with, like, the security team,
Yeah.
And I always admired them, although I never became part of the security team. Like, I was a small dude. I'm not trying to get into it with some big-ass dude who kicked my ass or whatever. But, I was feisty enough, so, like, I admired those guys so much, and I wanted to help them. And the way my dad raised me was, like, a law and order type of thing. And not in those words, but he meant that, like, discipline. Like, when you get fucking wrong, like, people who stole, he really looked down upon. He says, never take anything that's not yours and fucking be honest with people, right? So I'm in there the one day, I'm in lawn and garden. This guy goes over, he grabs one of those fucking backpack leaf blowers, which those are $300-400 back then, right?
Yeah.
And then he grabs a chainsaw. And the guy got greedy, right? So he's trying to carry both. The fucking box that the backpack leaf blower comes in, it's big. So he puts the chainsaw on top of that. He's trying to do a balancing act. So I'm like, security to lawn and garden, security to lawn and garden, blah, blah, blah. I was like, he's going out like the east door by the fucking lingerie department or whatever. I'm saying this shit over the, because I'm ready to go. I'm in like, cop mode or whatever, right? So I run out there after these guys into the fucking parking lot because there was nobody was there. They were on the other side of the store or something. They only had 2 or 3 dudes on a team, or they would be there the entire time, or sometimes less. I might have only 1 or 2 guys on.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I can't wait for them to get there. This guy's gonna get away with this shit. So back then, I liked the thrill of being able to do something like that.
Yeah.
So I chased this guy all the way to his car. He's trying to get his keys out. There's some idiot in the passenger seat, probably high as shit, just smoked a joint or something. Doesn't even think to open the trunk for this guy or fucking open the door to make the getaway easier. So I'm yelling at this guy. I'm like, put that shit down, blah, blah, blah. And I'm fucking running through the parking lot. He's fumbling to get his keys out. He can't get the trunk open, so he just ditches the box by the trunk, gets in the fucking car, and takes off.
Yeah.
I bring the shit back in. For all my heroism that day, these motherfuckers gave me like a $50 gift card or something.
Oh.
They had to be careful how they worded their security report, because if there was any lawsuits that arose or something, they could be liable for admitting certain shit in the report. So they had to doctor it up. They're like, the guy abandoned it just outside the door and the employee retrieved it from there. It's like, dude, I chased that guy to the end of the parking lot, dude.
Yeah.
I'm just booking behind him with the fucking phone, ready to throw it at him, fucking throw the phone at him or fucking smack him with it or some shit. But when I got back in, they're like, dude, you had the one guy, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he was a short black dude, fucking tough as nails, and just smart though, real smart dude, just calm, cool, collect. He blended in like a chameleon. You never even know he was around. And he would tell me, he's like, him and the other guy, Bill used to be like, I don't know if he worked for the FBI or if he was like a detective or something. He was like high up there. He did some shit like that. He was telling me, I think he went through FBI training. I don't know if he became a full-blown agent, but he was telling me about how to drive really fast and in reverse and all the shit they teach him in the academy and stuff.
Yeah.
But they were like, yo, you shouldn't chase anybody in the parking lot, man. He's like, we do it. He's like, but it's different. He's like, there's groups of us. We have strength in numbers. He's like, we're conscious. We've been trained to avoid like dangerous situations. Like they could run you over with their car. Like it's a dangerous place. You know, anything's a weapon out there, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, the one guy used to carry 9-volt batteries, so we could bust their car windows out. Apparently, if you hit the fucking 9-volt off the window,
off the windows,
like So you used to, like, when they try to drive away, if they got away with some shit they were stealing, you fucking whip one at them. So you'd, like, tell the police officers it's one with a broken window. But these were the kind of people that I worked with. So what did I learn there? I learned sales, interacting with the public, you know, and I learned to not jump the gun on things, because there was a time where this guy brought this lawnmower back and I didn't know how to start it. It was like some kind of weird mechanism, different, you know, way you started. That or I'm dumb, one of the two. But anyway, I was like, yo, I'm like, the fucking motor's locked up. You burnt this shit out. Like, I couldn't get the cord to pull, and there was like a reset thing you had to do to get it to like go.
Right.
And I just didn't know what I was doing. So I'm like, man, you're like, sir, I think you're trying to fucking scam here. I'm like, this thing, I can't get it to start. Like, it's locked up. And he's like, what? He's like, dude, I just got this thing. He's like, he's like, I just don't want it. He's like, it works fine. So the manager came out and he showed me how to start it. And I'm like, I felt like such an idiot. Like, it teaches you how to think like order of operations. Like, what do I need to do here first, right?
Yeah.
So like, it was an embarrassing moment, and I learned from it. You know, I was like, you know, I'll just try to, like I said, controlling information so you don't offend people. You don't want to go to like, you know, emergency mode with people right away. So I learned a lot of people skills there, how to interact with the public, how to negotiate with people in terms of just making a deal, not on just the stuff I was selling, but like so that everybody feels happy. Sometimes you get a shitty customer, and if you know, it's like almost like a victory when you can kind of like, dude, don't worry, man. You know what? I got you. You know, whatever. Some people are just fucking assholes. You
yeah, I think, I learned that too. You just gotta stay calm and you know, and just assess the situation sometimes, because if you do get hot like everybody else, especially now, dude, like I feel like people are more into jumping into stuff now, you know what I mean, like into conflict or, you know what I mean, or blowing things out of proportion, you know what I mean, like sometimes you just gotta take it easy, analyze what's going on, and then react to it, you know what I mean. But if you react the same way everybody else is reacting, sometimes that's when shit happens, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I agree. You know, there's just a lot of angry people out there right now. People have been fucking worse after COVID, regardless of whether it's a result of the consequences of COVID. You know, I mean, that's what it seems to be.
Man,
to me.
People didn't have social skills before; they have them even less now.
Yeah,
that's what, and I feel it was just lack of practice. People not fucking being around other people and stuff like that. But let's get back to So then you went to UIC.
Yeah.
And then how many years did you, after Moraine Valley, you went to UIC?
So I went to Moraine Valley for 3 years. I didn't even know what I wanted to do when I went there. You know, I didn't score very highly on my college admissions test.
Uh-huh.
I think I got like a 17 or 18 on my ACT. So I wasn't really interested in school, you know?
Yeah.
But my dad, like, where he came from in Ireland, the people who were in control, the people who were in power, who had money, who were wealthy, were educated, you know, and he was a smart individual. You know, he didn't complete a very high level of schooling, but he's very, very smart. And him and my mom basically got the application from Moraine Valley and brought it to me and had me fill it out and pushed me into doing that, because otherwise, I either wouldn't have went to college or I would have delayed it for even longer. It didn't interest me to go there.
So your dad never told you, like, hey, become an electrician with me, or?
He wasn't against it, but he didn't really. Man, he would tell me what to do a lot, like in an authoritarian way. You know, that's, I guess, immigrants how they are. But like, he never pushed me to go. Like, he wanted me to do, you know, business or science or some kind of fucking, you know, something like that. You know, just do something where you can get a skill or have some knowledge that's going to set you apart and it's going to make you more money, so you don't have to bust your ass on a construction job like I do. But I don't think he would have been disappointed had I become an electrician. And it's like, as much stress as I deal with as a lawyer and all the money it costs to go do it, I have over $230,000 in student debt, dude. It's a lot of fucking money, right? And that's before I even, you know, get into opening the business and investing and doing all this other shit, right? So that's the difference now. But in the education system now, as you come out with a lot of debt, people aren't as wealthy or as powerful as they were when they started in a position where they weren't in debt coming out of law school or any school, any higher education, graduate school. But anyway, he pushed me at least to get in there. So I went in and I started taking prerequisite classes. Another great learning experience, like interacting with people, because like I don't know if it's just immigrants, man, but like they have a lot of bad habits and they overreact to shit. They fucking, they're really concerned about stuff, and it's like I'm a product of like 38 years of learning and like learning from other people and learning how to interact in society, because some of the advice and shit they gave me when I was growing up was just bad shit. It's like, why would I listen to that?
But you know what, bro? Talking about that, I always talk about this with my girl. We always talk about that, but those are like not curses, but they're generational stuff. I mean, like if you think about it, like especially like immigrant families when they left wherever they left because it wasn't that great. You know what I mean? So God knows what they went through there. You know what I mean? Where the situation was like do or die. So I mean, like, so any little thing that would happen was a major thing for them. You know what I mean? And then so your parents probably got brought up by their parents that were like that. You know what I mean? My parents were the same way. You know what I mean? Where their parents brought them up like that. So I feel like that's where when you raise your kids, you'll be like, hey, step back, stay calm. Explain to your kids, don't overreact with stuff. Because I feel like if you're first generation, more than likely you're gonna grow up with parents like that, where they're gonna blow stuff out of proportion, or they just don't know how to handle it, and maybe that's how their parents handled it. Yeah. That's all they know.
Well, they know what they know, and they also are existing in a different type of society for the first time, so they don't know how to even teach you, I think, like how to interact with the rest of society. But I was lucky.
That's true.
Because I learned a lot from my friends growing up, and actually it was my friends that steered me into becoming a lawyer, to go into law school.
I was going to ask you, how did you end up being a lawyer then?
Well, I finished my time in Marine Valley, so I did 3 years there. Great experience, fucking good college, good area, good teachers. I got to reach back out to some of them to maybe even have them on my podcast. I had a really good sociology teacher. The guy was great. I think we'd have a good conversation. But in any event, I finished up there, went to UIC. So by the time I was done at Marine Valley, I had a good friend who was now a Berwyn firefighter, and he was getting ready he wanted to go into law. I was like, hey, you know what, I do too. You know what I mean? I was like, because he just like, whatever it was, like the positivity he had and the way he talked about things, it was like very convincing, and I said that would be a good job. And it's, I knew it's a challenge because, for somebody who started out, I think what it was I was a bad test taker when I was younger. I had ADD pretty bad, and I would be more focused on the clock than like getting through material and just remaining calm. Like, you know what I mean? They didn't teach you that. I never got medicated, so I didn't have anything to really calm me down or keep me focused.
Right.
But in any event, the guy was one of my best friends this very day. Grew up in Cicero, and just a good kid, just like where I grew up. And I can't remember exactly why he wanted to go into law, but for me it was workers' rights. So I wanted to represent, like, I wanted to be a labor lawyer, like, for unions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
People like my dad. But, after a while of being around people that are in unions and seeing kind of the politics of it, it just kind of made me realize I don't really want to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I see a lot of what I think is wrong with society, and I don't want to participate in it directly because I don't want to get dirty. You know what I mean? Like, whether it's politics, at one point I wanted to be a politician,
Same.
And then you see what happens right here in Summit when the feds are around, right? I don't need to go into detail on that. I don't need to talk about their business, but, it's public, right?
Right.
And, you hear about shit like that, you got to wonder, right? So, but in any event, that's what got me into law school. And then I liked business, man. Like, I had this contracts teacher, so contracts is basically almost business law because everything you do in business involves a contract, whether it's oral or written, right? It's some kind of agreement that drives it. So I got like super into business. I'm like, man, this is really cool. I was like, maybe I'll become like some kind of like attorney that handles like business transactions, corporations, mergers and acquisitions of companies, stuff like that.
Right.
Which, who knows? I might actually start doing that, but on a small scale level. Nobody's going to hire one person or two person law firm to do like a major merger of bigger size companies or mid-sized companies. Like I'd be handling, if you want to buy the detail car shop down the street or whatever, like I
Yeah.
can handle that for you, but you're not coming to me for the Sears Tower for sale or some shit, you know what I mean?
Right.
But in any event, you know, so I got into a lot into business on. That's kind of how I got into where I'm at today. I'm doing mostly real estate, but also during this whole time, you know, the market is slowing down. I think lenders seem to be about the slowest in the market, followed by probably the realtors and maybe insurance. You could tell me about that. But
Insurance is honestly, insurance is kind of recession proof.
because everybody needs it.
Everybody needs it. It's like one of my mentors, insurance mentors. He's like he's an old school guy, old school insurance guy. His dad had a brokerage. He had a brokerage, and he tells me, he's like, insurance is like selling toilet paper. He goes, people are always gonna need it. Like
Gotta have your building insured. Gotta have your car insured.
They have to have it.
Yeah.
It's not, and it's, you know what I mean, unless as long as there's banks, there's gonna be insurance, because banks ain't gonna give out no money without insurance. As simple as that.
Right.
As long as you have to borrow, as long as people are borrowing money from people, there's gonna be insurance companies, and as long as there's lawyers, there's gonna be insurance companies, because at the end of the day, that's who pays the bills when shit pops off.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you know,
but I know what you mean. Market is slowing down.
yeah, that's why we're going to be doing a bunch of other stuff. I'm going to start doing foreclosure defense, evictions. Matt in my office is a veteran. He's worked in the Veterans Legal Clinic at UIC, John Marshall Law School, where we went. It was just John Marshall when we went, but they've since merged with UIC. The university has merged with them, which makes them a stronger institution when you have the university support. You're not just a freestanding law school. So that helps them out. They probably moved up in the rankings for that. Of national law schools.
How did you and when you were in in UIC, you graduated there, and
political
then
science. I
political
studied
science?
laws there, yeah. And I was in the economics club, so I was really into economics too. I wanted to minor in economics, but I had so much fucking.
That would have been cool.
If I had more credit hours that I could have earned, but I had done all my prerequisites. I had 3 years worth of credits that transferred over, so I just had to do my last 2 years. So I was in college a total of 5.
Well, the guys that wrote that book for economics, they're from UIC, I think, aren't they?
They're from the other UIC. So the guys who wrote free economics are at University of Chicago, which is one of the top economics departments in the entire nation. In fact, for their law school, they're ranked number 5 in the nation last time I looked. So they are. There's like 250 law schools or 300 in the United States, or maybe they've cut some down now.
Yeah.
But they're like the Harvard of the Midwest. You know,
Yeah.
the University of Chicago is an elite school. I did not go to that one. I wish, bro. I told you I barely got into fucking college, right?
Oh, well, I'm the same way. Like, fun fact, I wanted to become an economist, but I was going to some fucking garbage ass for-profit school, and when I started like trying to like apply for everywhere else, they're like, your credits aren't good anywhere, and I was like, what the fuck? And that's a whole nother story within itself. But yeah, that kind of fucked up everything there. So, but that's where I went. I wanted to go there because I was like, dude, that's fucking badass.
There's University of Illinois, and then there's University of Chicago. So University of Chicago is the big fancy one. Barack Obama taught there in their law school for a while before he became president.
So that's the one on the south side.
That's in Hyde Park. Yeah.
Oh,
It's Hyde Park. So it's a little more south. You know, they have a big campus there. They have a medical school there. They have all sorts of shit. It's an incredible school. You have to be scoring among the top kids in the nation.
I wouldn't have made it in there either.
Yeah, my brother could have got in there
Really?
if he wanted to. He scored like in the 30s on his ACT. I think 33 is a perfect score. He was like a 29 or a 30. He was right up there. So he would have got in if he applied. And he might have even been able to do better than that. He's intelligent on that academic level that I'm not. I'm eloquent at times. I'm fucking, I'm an intelligent person, right? You don't raise your GPA to be like almost straight A's in college. And then I was in the top, like my first year, I think I was like, first year and a half, I was in the top 15% of my class. I did drop after that. Mm-hmm. But I was, I did pretty well. So like, I'm a better learner as time went on. Apparently, as you get older, you become more cognizant of ADD, so you're able to control it better. And I did get to that point because I passed the bar exam first try. It was just a lot of memorization. You gotta have it all memorized, and after that, you slowly forget it as you just practice one area of the law.
Yeah.
They say on the days you take the bar exam, you know more law than you ever will in your life, and it's a 2-day marathon, man. Yeah.
The test is 2 days? 2 days.
Yeah. You start the first day for the lawyer's exam is written. So you start out with various essays. So they'll present you with a fact pattern. You know, this company is buying or selling a supercomputer to this one. Is it a sale? Is it a lease? What is it under the law? You know, who's going to prevail in a lawsuit based on this and blah, blah, blah. And you have to sit there and write about that shit all day and analyze it like a lawyer. And they have an ethics portion too. So it's not only like criminal law, property law, constitutional law, contract law, whatever. They'll ask you, did this person fucking do their job right, or are they swindling people, and is it a violation of our rules such that they would have to be disciplined or removed from a profession?
Oh, wow. So
that's the first day.
It's not multiple choice then.
Multiple choice comes the second day. And it's 100 long, hard fucking questions in the morning and another 100 in the afternoon. It takes 3 hours. You can do, I think you need like 2 minutes per question or something like that, or 2.5 minutes to 3. I think it's between 2 and 3 per question you get. So it's like 3 hours of questions. And you're like, when I took the law exam, it was kind of epic actually. I was sitting on the basketball court of the UIC pavilion. So you're under the bright lights, like you're on their basketball court, and they just have tables set up with fucking taped power strips to them. Some people, you know, we were using our laptops to type because you can type a lot faster than you write. There was a couple old school people that were sitting there writing their shit, you know, writing it down. I'm like, dude, your hand would be broken by the end of the day. And the second day is multiple choice, so you're looking up at a timer. There's this giant timer right in front. They use the basketball thing. You can see it, and it's getting down there. You get to the last 10 questions, and you're like, you blindly guess on the long ones, and then you take the shortest ones that you can think they're only like, you know, 5 sentences or something you can get through real quickly and try to get the best answer possible. It's strategy, man. It's a marathon.
Oh, wow.
And you don't want to piss or use the washroom or nothing. You're sitting down there trying to hold it the whole time, or like you're not hydrated fully. I was sleep deprived as shit. I made the mistake, bro. Like, when you think about things as like a marathon, you have to train your body, right? The problem is you can train it to have bad habits too. So I was staying up studying until 1 or 2 in the morning, or almost 3 in the morning sometimes, and I didn't stop soon enough. Like I should have got back to 2 or 3 weeks before the exam came up to be going to bed by like 10 or 11. Mm-hmm. The first night of the exam, I get to bed. It's like 10 o'clock or something. I'm like, I got to get up and get into a cab and get over to fucking UIC to take that exam tomorrow. I slept for like 3 hours or something like that.
No way.
I was fucking just burnt out drinking Red Bull in the morning, and I didn't want to drink too much because I'm like, I'm not trying to piss. You're losing valuable time that you need to answer those questions and do it properly. Yeah. So like, I ate like just little roll-ups. Like I ate like ham and cheese roll-ups or turkey and cheese with like some tortillas, and that would be like my lunch. I would eat real light where it wasn't like something that would offend my stomach real bad.
Right.
And then I'd have like, you know, just like stuff to drink and stay a little hydrated, granola bars and shit. That's all I would eat. But I was staying up so late. The first night, I only slept 2 hours the next night. So I was only on 3 hours of sleep the first night. The second night, it's the same shit.
Were you studying, or what were you doing?
I studied a little bit, but we had a fucking crazy computer software problem with the fucking software that we used. It's called ExamSoft, and you have to type your exam on there. They would tell us to avoid cheating that you like tried to download your answers and you have more time later and manipulate your results.
Yeah.
They said if it's not uploaded by like 8 p.m. or 9 p.m., you fail the written portion. They had a nationwide crash in like 22 states that were all giving the bar exam at the same time. So all these law students are like, fuck. They said if we don't get it in by like 8, 9 o'clock, because it should automatically upload as soon as you hit submit, it should go up to their server and you can't fuck with it again. But their software crashed. So although you had internet, you couldn't get it to upload. So some people got lucky and they were somehow able to break through as their servers were being like fixed or something.
Yeah.
But all the kids from fucking John Marshall leave UIC and they go over to John Marshall in cabs to go to the tech department to see if they could fix the computer and get their shit turned in. There's like 30, 40 of us all in there like, come on, like help us out. Like everybody's freaking out. So
and the guys that were writing were like,
well, yeah, that's the funny thing. So everybody's stressed. And then when we came in the next morning, like, just to reassure you, for anybody's exams who have not yet, you know, it does save to a spot in your computer that's very hard to find. So if we need to pull it off there, if it didn't upload, we can do it. They're like, don't worry, you're not going to fail. We're like, thanks, because you should have fucking made the announcement. You know, like call, like I don't know. They should have had some kind of better response where they let us know the night before that don't worry about it because everybody's freaking out.
So there was probably some computer.
We lost so much study time. I could have been studying for the multiple choice portion, and I spent like 2-3 hours trying to get this shit uploaded. to have the tech department help me. I'm waiting behind other people and trying everything I can myself. So it was very stressful. And when it was done, they throw like this open bar happy hour for all the law students. So you're sleep deprived as shit, and you've just been through stress like a motherfucker for days. Now they're going to turn you loose to an open bar.
That's the best.
Everybody got hammered, man.
Yeah.
But people were like hammered to the point of stupidity, man. Like, people were doing some dumbass shit. How motherfuckers took silverware from a restaurant they had in a cloth and just threw it out like when they were walking out the street. I'm like, who takes that, first of all?
Yeah.
And they just threw it, and it was like landing in front of the cars and shit. They're lucky to hit anybody's cars. I'm like, what are you doing, you idiot? We just became lawyers today, basically. Like, took the exam.
How long does it take for you to find out if you passed or not?
Couple months, man.
Oh, no shit.
In Illinois, there's 2 exams you can sit for each year. They have a February and a July. So that's the thing that sucks when you graduate law school. You graduate in May, and then you get that weekend. It's like Saturday, Sunday, and by Monday you're back in school, because some of the exams that get tested on the bar exam you might not have taken in law school. Some people didn't take commercial paper or secure transactions, which involves like mortgages and liens and all this shit. Some people had no idea about that stuff. So you have to go to a preparation course. So you start school right away again. So I took this course called Barbary because they have people who wrote the actual lawyer's exams, and they have, I think, actual questions that were previously released. So I like to use the ones that are like the authentic shit. I don't want to be practicing on some stuff some asshole made up, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of similar. Like I want to, the real deal to prepare. But in any event, you take the July exam, and you don't find out until October 1st if you passed. So there's a couple months where you don't have a job, or if you're working, you're not a full-fledged lawyer yet. You're still getting paid like a non-lawyer. You're getting at that point, you don't even know if they let you use your temporary license, because in law school, they have this thing. It's like, section 7-11 of the Illinois Code on like, law practice or something, whatever it is, or the rules of professional conduct says that you can get a student's license where you can practice as if you were a lawyer while you're a student under the supervision of other lawyers, so you can work in these firms. But I can't remember if your 7-11 gets revoked after the graduation until you get a job. So people are like, you're freaking out. If you don't get a job, you got to take the bar exam again. That means another 3 months of, your student loans. You're gonna have to start paying them after a while.
Right.
You gotta, and then if you didn't pass, they might not be able to keep you at the job. If they had 3 or 4 people passed and one of them didn't, like, we need somebody who's licensed now. Like, sorry, we can't give you the job. You might have to look again. And then you're going for another 3 months of studying again until you can try to pass the February one. Luckily, I didn't have to go through that.
That's crazy. So, talking about lawyer stuff. I used to watch a lot of TV.
Yeah.
Which is the most realistic lawyer show that you've seen?
I mean, the
Suits?
emotional answer I want to
Suits?
give you is none of them.
No.
I mean, I haven't seen Suits, but like Law and
You've
Order.
never watched Suits?
No. What is on? Where is it at?
I don't know.
It's
It's probably like on. It's on something now. They stopped filming it, I think, already.
I mean,
It was a good show.
So like the most realistic shows to watch are ones where they're showing you like Dateline or 2020, because you're seeing
stuff.
inside the courtroom, like that's real, or whatever. Like the actual TV shows, like let's take Law and Order for example.
Right.
They pick up the perp. This motherfucker's on trial like the next day or the next week. Like, do you know how long it takes to work through the court system?
Yeah.
You might get released pre-trial if it's in a non-violent offense.
Mm-hmm.
You get your initial hearing, and you might spend months. Like, there was people during COVID that were having to wait longer while they were sorting all that shit out with lockdowns and when they can get them in court. You can be in fucking county jail for months before you get to a trial. You know what I mean? Like, that's in Law and Order. It's like they seem like it happens like the next day. Like they had the hearing right away, and then by the next day you're at trial. It's like, I get they have to cram it into an hour, but whatever.
Right.
And they're not always accurate with the law. Sometimes they are. One of the best shows to watch is like Judge Judy. She does a really good analysis, and most of the time she does rule in a way that's like how it would be under the law.
No shit.
She has a good general knowledge of the law, so like, she puts her theatrics. You're an idiot. I don't even want to hear anymore. That's stupid. I'm not. You know what I mean? But yeah, out of what's the most accurate, none of them are really accurate to real life, because some stuff you'd be like, oh, they can't do that, or they can do this, or whatever. I'm able to spot that. Like, now, like when you first become a lawyer, you're like so in tune with having to notice legal shit, where now it's like, dude, I just want to eat and just lay back and watch the show. Like, I don't analyze it the way I used to, but yeah, you can see like that's not really true, or that's not how it would happen in real life. So, you know, halfway accurate, but they don't allow a lot of the drama. There's some stuff that would not be admitted that they say on some of these shows, you know, would be
Right.
admitted as evidence or whatever. The objection's not proper. There's all sorts of bullshit.
So,
Yeah.
how did your parents feel when you went to, or when you told them you were going to be a lawyer, or you wanted to be a lawyer?
Well, they supported me, you know.
Yeah.
My they wanted, they were happy, you know. They
Yeah.
My dad, you know, like I said, he grew up on a farm, and his dad did some carpentry as well. So like, for them, like I was the first one that he knew, you know, to go to college in his family.
Yeah.
So to get to law school, they're very proud of that. So I mean, I think he felt like, wow, you know, like my son's really doing something, because my dad, you know, was, you know, he was an alcoholic when I was younger. And
Yeah.
he got to a point where he couldn't drink anymore because he was sick with cancer. And at that time, I probably made the strongest bond with him in his life because he wasn't drinking. So I got probably the most wisdom from him at that time. But the point of me telling you that is just that he had a wild streak when he was younger. And so did I. You know, like I did a lot of drinking early on in my life. Like when I was able to drink, the people that I hung around with, they drank pretty heavy. And it was almost like a macho thing. Like I can hang with the best of them, right? You know, like I can handle my liquor.
Yeah.
For the most part, we could. You know, me and my friends, we weren't really the people that got out of hand. You didn't have to worry about us. You know, if anything, sometimes people would be starting shit with us, but we wouldn't go around looking for it necessarily. But in any event, like, how did he feel? He was proud, man. He's fucking proud because he knows that it's not easy to do. Because when I took the law exam, and I didn't score super high, but high enough, and I think I could have did better if I continued on. So for a person who barely tested it high enough to get into college, I scored a 151. I took the first time I took the bar exam. It's out, or the law school admissions test. They call it the LSAT, the LSAT for short. It's out of 180. So that I wanted to raise the score up to either get a scholarship or go to a better school, a higher ranked school.
Right.
So I studied, dude. I would go to the library like every weekend, and for like 2 or 3 hours, I would take the test under time conditions, like set the clock for 30 minutes per section, and I would do it until I raised up my score. I would look at the answers. There were tough questions. Why did I get that one right, or why did I get it wrong? I'd look at their reasoning. I'm like, okay, now my mind's in tune to the fucking what they're doing here. It sharpened me. It made me a more reasonable thinker, a better thinker. So, you know, I got my score up to a 157 by the time I went into John Marshall. It was enough to get me a small scholarship of $8,000 a year when it was $38,000 to go. It's a lot, but I think I could have done even better than that. So like, I believe in that, you know, applying yourself until you get to where you want, you know. So I think he was really proud of that. But he passed away. He passed away in my third year of law school.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
So yeah, he got, at that time, it was 2013. He got really sick. So I was like almost about to be done. So he didn't get to see me finish. He didn't get to see me become a lawyer. But I know he was proud as fuck of me, you know.
Yeah.
Before he got really sick, before he, you know, when his dying days, he was just in a nursing home and couldn't move, and I would have to go visit him, which I couldn't do a lot. I was super busy with school at that time. I was on the law review, which is like one of the highest honors or prestigious things you can do in law school, and I had a really long article to write to try to get it published to become like prominent within the legal field or whatever. And I did do my article, and it was close. So apparently, my friend was telling me behind the scenes he had a vote because he was on the law review board. And he's like, "You were close." He's like, "Had I known that was yours," he's like, just between me and you, he's like, "I might have fucking voted. I didn't realize it was yours," because they get them blind. They don't know who wrote it or whatever. And so it was tough because you're dealing with the smartest people in your school of all ages. You know, that end up making the law review. I didn't get on until later because I didn't take enough credit hours to get ranked my first year. So I ended up making it on to law review my second year. So usually you get on in your second year. By third year, you're doing like leadership role. You're editing other people's work and shit like that and deciding who gets published. But my dad passed at that time, and I remember he passed September 2013. I took a couple of weeks off of school. I had to help my mom get the business affairs in order, right? Because my dad had stocks and life insurance and, you know, pensions and all this, right? He had pensions from back home in Ireland from times when he worked over there. Yeah, nothing big, but, you know, money that would be used to support my mom when he was gone, because those pensions have survivor benefits. Not all of them. I don't know. Well, I think they have smaller ones for the American ones, or maybe whatever it is. But in any event, you know, you get money to kind of help keep you afloat. So I took a couple of weeks off, you know, did that. Eventually, my mom was very proud. You know, she came to the graduation, and at the time she wasn't super mobile, but she was much better than she is now. She doesn't move around much, and when she goes out in public, a lot of times she has to use a wheelchair. But my cousin, who's like a brother from a mother to me, or almost like a father, I guess at that time, he came in with his wife, and they all went down to the graduation with me. I can't remember if my brother went. Don't recall if he went. But in any event, like, they were all proud of me. You know, my dad was proud just from wherever he's at. And
Oh, definitely.
he was happy to see me go in there and just see that I could accomplish something, that his kids were doing something, and that it made him feel good because my dad never finished high school. You know what I mean?
Right.
He got like halfway through and just went out to work like a man, you know, a young man, and that was it.
Yeah.
He didn't like to admit that. You know, he probably, I don't know what he'd think about me saying it now, but, you know.
Right.
Sorry, Pop, don't mean to betray your confidence, but, you know, people need to hear this story to know that, you know, it's possible to live the American dream even if you're not at a high level of education. You know?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Then, so you graduated college, you went to law school, you became a lawyer.
Yeah.
Then, where did you start right away with real estate, or was that like your...
About 2 years in, so when I got into real estate. So for a while, I was volunteering, actually, after law school with judges. So one very prestigious thing you can do is clerk for judges, and it also helps to make you a better thinker, because when you work for a judge, you're getting to see the plaintiff side of the case, the defense, and the judge is telling you how he or she analyzes it. So I was trying to become a clerk for a while. If I got a clerkship in the state court, it's not as prestigious. The pay is not very high, but it does help to open doors for you. Because, like, let's say I worked in the personal injury division of the courthouse. If they know I'm a clerk, like, I know how to do all their motions, I know how they think, I know how they argue in court, like, I know how to do that work. So you're almost already trained right away. Plus, if you get a judge's recommendation, it helps, right? They're like, oh, fuck, you know, Judge so-and-so recommended this candidate that was a clerk for them. It carries weight. So I was volunteering for a while. The tough thing for me when I got out of law school was competition was very stiff at that time. So we were just coming out of the housing crash, and there was a, you know, reorganization of the legal market. And what had happened was, after the financial crash had hit and we were in recession, there was lawyers that were experienced by 20 years, 25 years getting laid off from law firms. So why are they going to hire me at, like, you know, 50 or 55,000 coming out of law school when they can hire them for like 70 or 75 and they're fully trained? They don't have to go through the, you know, this guy's brand new, whatever.
Right.
So I tried to become a law clerk for these judges, and I lost to people who were going to like top schools, like University of Chicago and shit. The one chick that I was competing against, we went to U of Chicago. It's like, it's tough to compete against that. Like, they're cream of the crop in the nation, you know. So I didn't end up becoming a law clerk, but I gained some valuable experience. I'd clerked at the federal level for a federal judge during law school. That was very prestigious. Not many people get that opportunity. You have to be near the top of your class to get recommended for that or to get chosen for that. So I got lucky. I got an A in the judge was teaching a class at the school, and I got an A in the course. And so only people who got A's in his course were invited to clerk for him.
Yeah.
And the rest of the judges at the federal level, like, they'd be getting people from Harvard and shit. They would never choose me from John Marshall. I'm just a Chicago kid, right? That was a Chicago school. But I did that for a while. I applied out in DuPage. I was actually going to be a prosecutor out there. I tried to get in for that. I just didn't quite get in for that. I also tried to be a law clerk out there. I would have worked for multiple judges. It wouldn't have been just one-on-one. I would have been working for multiple judges. Out of 111 candidates, I came down to the final two, and they went with the other candidate.
Oh, no shit.
So I was very close on a few things. So in the meanwhile, I was working. I started taking on my own work. I was doing, like, small estates, helping people get assets, you know, from when their family passed away. I was doing probate, court-related work. You know, a lot of, like, wills, trust, stuff that I could do pretty easily. They didn't take, like, a lot of supervision, because when you're starting out on your own, you want to be taking on these complex matters, and you're going to be in over your head. That's not good for you, and it's not good for the client either.
Right.
You're not going to be able to deliver results. It's going to take you forever. It's going to be stressful as fuck. A lot of attorneys will get trained for a few years in a firm, and then when they're sick of doing, you know, slaving away 80 hours a week or some bullshit, 60, 70, 80 hours a week, they leave and they start their own thing. I didn't have that. But I did have a lot of mentors, a lot of people I could tap to this very day. Like I told you, as the real estate market, you know, slows down, I'm not going to be dependent on only that. Like I got a business to run, I got a family to feed. Like I'm going to start doing all sorts of stuff, but related mostly to real estate. Like I said, I'm foreclosure defense, you know, more wills and trusts, corporation stuff, evictions, short sales, more of that. Lawsuits related to the real estate. People who've had problems with their real estate in the past, you know, if there's a problem that wasn't disclosed to them, stuff like that. Matt's going to be doing the veteran stuff. We're going to start expanding out because you know, it's going to be similar and all in the business type of area law. I'm not going to start doing criminal cases or divorce or any of that, but I am going to start branching into other stuff. I don't want it to be dependent on the real estate market.
Yeah. They how did you decide you wanted to open up your own law firm?
Well, I knew I wanted to do it. The thing the reason I went into real estate law is like, for when you're doing closings, you know, you're handling a business transaction. It's an escrow closing. It involves like contracts and all this shit, right? It's
Right.
cool. But it's easy to do without supervision. That's not like the Johnny Cochran murder trial where you need to have experience in the courtroom about, you know, how to get evidence admitted and like, you know, how to persuade a jury or how to prove your case or disprove the state's case, right? So it was conceptually easy, but it's tedious. There's deadlines. There's a lot of expectations. The communication level is so high, like it's insane. You're gonna be talking to people all the time. But I had gotten this book, which I consider to be like the real estate Bible, and I learned like the knowledge I had was enough to get hired at a real estate law firm. Like, you already sound like you're trained, like you're good to go. They didn't like my speed, but nobody's really quick when you first get started. But now I'm quick, and I'm training people who are just starting. I'm seeing the difference. I'm like, it takes a while to gain that confidence and speed in your work. But I did work at another law firm for a while, and then I opened up my own firm. And I had already had plans to do that. Like, I literally told them during the hiring process, like, I'm going to be opening my own firm, but I'll wait like a year or two if the job's good. And it just turns out it wasn't a good fit. Like, we didn't work out for each other, and I just started sooner. May 2016, I opened, a law office of Brian and Tierney. You know?
Okay. What was your first when you first opened? What was like your first? How was it the first days after you opened? Like, how was it like?
Well, there's a lot of empty space that you need to get your fucking ass moving in. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I got a small office over on 63rd Street, and it was like a 10 by 10 or 12 by 12, and I was paying like $300 a month.
Is that the one that I visited you? The one across from the grocery store?
I think.
Or
well, there's
like
a
down the
7-Eleven
block?
over there. It was
Yeah,
by
it was
63rd.
by
and
7-Eleven.
It was by 63rd Oak Park. And yeah, you came in there one day to do a quick promo video for something we were doing. I don't know if it was a happy hour.
It was a buyer's consult.
Buyer seminar.
Was it I think it was that brewery one, wasn't it?
Five Rabbit Cerveceria, which I don't even know if that's open still.
I don't know. I've been wanting to go. That was good.
They had a couple locations. I don't know if they kept.
They were gonna close that one. They were supposed to move
I think
it.
they might have sold it to
Did
somebody
they?
else. Yeah,
Oh,
I think somebody was telling me maybe they got acquired by a bigger like Corona or somebody. Or
Oh, no shit.
Well, yeah, because everybody's trying to get into the microbrews, you know.
Yeah.
Because they were taking up a big share, market share. So Coors and all that, they were all trying to get their hands on rights to like Revolution or Lagunitas or some shit, right? They were all trying to buy into that type of stuff if they could get one of those companies.
Yeah, it was for the promo for that.
Yeah, so that was cool. Yeah, they had tacos there. I remember that their tacos were pretty fire, and I liked the bar over there. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the one you were at. So I was there, and like, this is a relationship business, right?
Oh, definitely.
So, like, I understood from working in that real estate law firm that you got to get to know people. You got to network, right? Well, you know, realtors are the referral source in business. They kind of drive the referrals in the business. So I started going out and trying to make friends, and I went to different events and get connected with people. Like, the success that I have is because of the relationship I've made. Like, I'm a sum of all the people I interact with.
Did someone teach you that, or just come natural where you were like, you know what, I got to go network?
I'm very social to begin with, so for me, it's not even like a job. Like, some people are like, man, they don't know what to talk about, or it's awkward, you know, it's a loud room. It's like, dude, I understand sometimes it's too loud to have a conversation. We'll get to know each other another time.
Right.
But at least, you know, like, I liked doing it, and people realized, like, you're young, you're charismatic, like, you're a social person. You're able to connect with people. You're able to have fun. You're able to mix it up, right? So, like, when I first started, I probably worked harder than I should have. Like, I'd get a coffee or something from Dunkin' Donuts. I'd take a little notepad and a pen, and I would just, like, snake up and down the streets, like, back and forth, up and down, and I would write down what homes were listed. I would find out, you know, sometimes the sign would tell you the person's name, their number, whatever, even their email address sometimes, or you'd have to look the house up online and then see who was listing it. So I started meeting a bunch of these people. Like, I would reach out to them. I'd be like, hey, you know, I saw you're listing in the area. I've grown up there my whole life. I got a real estate firm over here. This is how much I charge, blah, blah, blah. Like, could we get together sometime? And most of them wouldn't. But a good bit of them did. They were interested. I'm like, dude, I'll treat for lunch. Like, you're my guest. I'm asking you out. And I got connected with some people, you know, I didn't even realize were top producers. And they gave me a shot. And then they would give my name. And some of them I don't even work with anymore. But I'm like, thank you for giving me a shot. And also spreading my name around to other people.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And they introduced me to Carmen Carbonero, she worked at Stewart Title when I was first getting in the business. But then she switched over to Land Trust a few years back. And she's been there ever since. She was a social butterfly, so she knew that I was social. She would take me all these events. She was introducing me to fucking, like, Chicago Association of Realtors, NAREP. You know, I'll take you to the holiday party. She's introducing me, meet my friend Brian. He's new. He's got, you know, like, blah, 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 blah. And she would help build me up and make these connections. So it came natural, and I showed up on a lot, man, dude. There were sometimes I'd work, like, all fucking day long, go out to an event and still have work to do that, either do when I got home or wake up early to do the next morning. Until I finally built something where I could afford an assistant, then another assistant, and then now I have the attorney Matt in my office, and like we're going to be expanding farther than that. We're going to need a couple other assistants as we expand further into court cases and stuff. It was just a lot of work. It was a grind, you know. And it's for me, it came natural. Like, some people have a harder time networking in the business, but me, it's like one thing I've understood is that like styles make matches, right? Like, if personality rises we quick, we're going to work together well.
Right.
And that's who works with me the most. They like that I don't beat around the bush. I don't sugarcoat shit. I call it like I see it. I talk real talk to people.
Right.
I'm not a doormat. Like, I just want to be real. I want to be reasonable. I want to help people. I want to do what it takes to get something done, to make a deal, to get an end result, and that's it. So, like, the people that I work with, some people aren't meant to work together, right? Like, the ones that I work with are people that we click. We have a lot in common. We share the same values, family values and shit. You know what I mean? Like, so a lot of us right now, we're having kids. Like, I have that in common with other people. I understand, I respect that to its fullest, man. Because it's a very short life that we have. You got to enjoy that. And you got to be a good person to the family, your community around you, your friends and all this. So it came naturally to me. I worked. I made a million connections. And I do it to this day. Not as much, not as heavy. Because, you know, you see how the president, like, they go into the job, like Barack Obama, you know, hair is, you know, same color it was when he was in his 20s, and then they come out looking like fucking an elder leader, like they're fucking fully gray. This is the Lion King. This motherfucker now has like the silver mane and shit. Like, Bush was like that too. Guy went in there, looked like a young dude. He had like dirty blonde hair or brown hair, and he came out gray as fucking a mule, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, that's kind of how I feel. Like, these last few years, I was doing closing a couple hundred deals a year. You know, multiple, like, you know, especially the last 2 years. I think I aged at least 2 to 3 years for every 1 year that passed.
Oh, definitely. Stress ages you, bro. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Without even realizing it. Like maybe in the last year, I never had gray hair, and now I have this little gray hair strip. And
looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I kept it.
Well, yeah. I mean, most people have to dye it to make it look like that.
Yeah, no, it just came out like that.
So, I wonder if you're going to get a matching one on the other side, too.
That'd be cool, too.
Dude, you might want to just add it in.
I
yourself,
should, right?
Get a little, like, silver and fucking do
like
another
that,
one on there. Cause
like Dr. Strange,
it's like a cool accent. It gives it, like, a little stripe, you know?
Yeah, right.
I'm jealous of your beard, dog. My shit comes in patchy.
You just got to let it grow, bro.
I do let it grow.
No, you got to let it grow, and then you can't
trim it?
Don't trim it. All you do is grab scissors, and all the hairs that are sticking
Stray
out.
ends?
Just cut those and just let it grow, and it'll eventually grow in. I'm
Like
telling
thicker?
you, yours will grow in.
Why? Was yours thin like mine before?
Yeah, mine's thin. Like, if I were to shape, maybe not now, but before, it was thin. It wasn't as fluffy. But the more you let it grow out, and I'm telling you, just don't shave it, just or don't trim it with the machine.
Yeah.
Just with the scissors, just cut out all like the loose ends or whatever they call them, and then eventually it'll just look.
I guess now would be the time to do it.
Do it now, bro. Shave your head already, bro. Shave your head and just fucking let the beard grow out.
Yeah. I mean, the sides are still thick, bro. The top is getting so thin. That's another thing.
Bro, I'm telling you, from one
full head of hair when I started.
One bald guy to another pimp.
Yeah.
Just do it. Just do it. Don't hold on to the dream. That or get hair plugs. One of my guys got hair plugs.
They're probably better than they used to be.
Oh yeah, they got they take all the stuff from the back, and they implant it. That shit looks painful as fuck, but it looks good. You could barely tell.
Shit.
It looks good.
You have to introduce me
I'll
to
show you a
your
picture
guy,
later.
maybe-
I'll show you a
maybe
picture of it
convince me.
later on. You could, you'll be like, oh shit.
We'll see. I'm not opposed to shaving my head. Like I already bought like the skull shavers and shit. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
Do you use one or no?
Nah, just a regular.
You use a
the
razor or-
the Dollar Shave Club.
Oh, you do Dollar Shave?
I've had it forever. Because
No
dude, those
shit.
the Mach 5s are expensive. Something like 25 something or 30 something. It's like something ridiculous now, like $40 for like 5 of them. Like I used to buy that shit at the I don't know if it's politically
market or
correct to
something?
say it, but like the Jewtown flea market.
Yeah.
But the old school one, the new school one isn't. It's just a tourist trip.
Yeah.
But the old school one, where it was like people like bringing stuff from their cribs to sell, and there would be a lady and she would sell razors, like all like toiletry stuff. I don't know where she would get it from, but it was super cheap. So
Might have fell off a truck. Might have friggin'
none of my business. None
Yeah,
of my
yeah, yeah,
business.
like you're the end consumer. You know what I mean? She
Yeah.
has some kind of family member works at a distributor. They get a good price, or they take it and they sell it to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Hey, man, we're just an honest guy out here trying to make a living. Make that dollar go a little farther. You don't have to ask all sorts of questions.
I didn't ever ask, right? I would just be thank you.
Yeah.
Here's your money. I'm gonna go down to the food stand now and get some tacos.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, dude, that's awesome, bro. Because businesses, you know what, businesses, I feel like now that I've done it a couple of times, businesses aren't hard to start. They're hard to scale and to just keep on going. You know what I mean?
Hard to maintain.
I mean, hard to
A lot of
maintain,
maintenance.
hard to even know what to do. You know what I mean? Like, and I see people all the time, like, especially with insurance, like, people, like, they come in, they're like, I'm going to open up a business. I need insurance. I'm like, okay, well, what do you do this? Or what are you going to do that? Or, who's going to be your employee? Or what are you going to do? I remember I had this one. I always remember this one. It was 4 people that came into the office, right? They came in. This was my old office. It was a Saturday morning. And they walk in and they're like, we need insurance for a restaurant. I'm like, okay. I'm like, where's the restaurant? They gave me the address. Like, yeah, we just signed the lease on it. I'm like, all right, awesome, congrats. And I'm like, how much equipment are you guys gonna have in there? And they all like start looking at each other. We're like, and I'm like, we'll put this much down. They're like, that's a lot of money. I'm like, yeah, but you got to think about it. Your chairs, your stoves, your this, your that, this, and then they're like, oh, well, we don't know if we're gonna buy all this stuff. Like, it's a restaurant. Like, it's not if you're gonna buy it, you need it. You know what I mean? So then I forgot what the hell I asked. Like, how many employees or something. And then I think they were like, oh, well, it's just gonna be us. And then I go, I'm like, what are your hours? What are gonna be your hours? And then one guy says, oh, we're gonna open up at 5 in the morning or 6 in the morning. And then the other guy goes, well, who's gonna be there that early in the morning? He goes, because I guess the other guy was gonna be the cook, and the other guy was like the money guy. He's like, well, you are. He's like, what? I am. And I go, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, what time are you guys gonna close? And then the other guy says, oh, we're gonna be open till like 4 in the morning. And then the other guy's like, well, who's gonna be there till 4 in the morning? And then he's like, well, you are. Like, it was hilarious because you could tell like they were probably like really gung ho about opening up a business, everything else, but they never discussed anything else other than opening the business. They never discussed like
Some key ingredients.
yeah, exactly. And it was funny, but they never came back. So I don't know what happened there, but yeah, like a lot of people like, and I feel like that. Like, there's a lot of people that, one, I think it takes a lot to open it. It takes a lot to think about it, but and how they say, like a lot of businesses don't succeed, and a lot of times it's that. It's just people don't not that they don't know what they're doing. They didn't plan for all the other stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they don't realize because you have the will, but you got to work out the ways as well. That's a big thing, and I think you could probably tell people, about it's hard to find good workers, man, good people to help you out. Because like I talked to my friend, he owns a restaurant. He goes, dude, I know people own various businesses. He's like, not just the restaurant industry. He's like, it's really hard to find people that are good right now to maintain. Like, your ideal would be you open a business, you have this loyal staff. They're there for like years at a time, right? You don't have to retrain anybody. You know them, you trust them, they do their thing. Everybody's doing good together, right?
Yeah.
But you tell me,
No, it is. It's hard. It's hard, especially like with technical stuff. Like, I could imagine, on a law firm. Like there's a lot of moving parts. You can't just put anybody in there to, talk to clients or do paperwork. You gotta do someone that's gonna be reliable. Someone that, dude, like, I've worked at before here. I used to work at jobs where So I used to work for McDonald's for corporate, and we used to do. I thought our job was easy. It was with IT. It was IT, and then it was a little bit of manual work that was done in that department. I picked it up pretty fast, and I'm not a computer geek myself, but like the guys that were there were pretty smart. And then we had a long time where like they were just bringing in people to do. They had it to a point where like they were bringing in people from temp agencies to try to fill in like certain positions we had in there. And dude, we had guys that didn't know basic math, and these are grown ass men. You know what I mean? And they had a calculator, and they still couldn't get the basic math down to like when we were auditing stuff and stuff like that. I mean, like a lot. You know what I mean? Like you think there's a lot of people that it's hard to find people, and then it's hard to find people that just can handle whatever you need them to do.
Yeah, I feel so isolated. Like, I feel like people who've been to higher levels of education, PhD or masters and shit like that. It's like you gotta understand, like, people that don't have that education. Like, I feel like sometimes I feel I'm isolated. Not that I'm like naive. It's just I think like it's like around here everybody seems to get along pretty well. Like as far as like how they get through their daily lives, but you get behind closed doors and some of these people are living the most fucked up life. Like. With all sorts of problems, and they're not doing as well as you think they are. But that's why, I'm always just trying to bear with people because I know that, like, these motherfuckers could be having the worst day of their life when you run into them on the street or whatever,
Yeah.
But yeah, I hear what you're saying. Like, some of these people don't have a very high education level, and it makes it hard to exist or work with them as well,
Yeah.
But tough to find sometimes. Like, what's that?
What was your moment when you opened up the law firm and everything else, and you were going already and everything? What was, or have you had that moment where you're like, all right, like I finally made it. I'm finally at a place where I feel comfortable.
Well, the first like 2-3 years kind of flew by. They're a blur now. I do remember certain big events, but they were busy. So sometime after those first 2-3 years is probably when I felt like I made it. There was times I'd walk into a real estate event and I would see people that I've never met before or that I don't know, but they know me. They know who I am. We might be connected on social media or they've seen other people tagging me or something. And it was weird because people would be like, "Oh, you're the attorney." I'm like, yeah, I'm not. I like how you said the. It puts a little respect on my shit. You know what I mean? Like, not an attorney, not a attorney, the attorney. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, that's me or whatever. And I get to know people, So like at that time, when you're well known within the industry, people know who you are. I think that's the point where you've made it, because by that time, enough people are working with you that you've proved your mettle. You close deals like it's nobody's business, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't have to like you on every single one of them. Like, I'm not perfect. I'm not the best attorney in the world, but I'm pretty good. I work fucking hard. I work hard at it. I'm available. I talk to people. I treat them nicely. I try to solve their problems or help them solve their problems.
Yeah.
And, like Matt and I were talking about, like, what's tough about being an attorney. Well, we deal with constant interruptions. Like, I can't focus during the daytime through a task to completion without getting a call or a text or something that's urgent. Brian, we need to talk about this. Like, I was listening to Andrew Huberman's podcast, Dr. Huberman, and he was talking about, like, you could be doing a task that you don't even like, but if you could do it without interruption, you would be happier. So it's like, that's one thing that's tough. And we also carry a lot of mental weight. You get mentally exhausted, and we solve problems for a living, and people come to us sometimes in their worst. They have a bad fucking problem. Like, you're not going to see a lawyer for your good health because you're doing so well. You're going to see them because you have some kind of problem.
Yeah. Some
people don't know how to handle their emotions, so you deal with that. It's a lot of heavy weight to carry, and you do it nonstop. You feel like there's not enough hours in the day. There's always more work that you could be doing. That weighs on you because it creates like a guilt when you're doing other things where you're feeling like, fuck, I should have been doing this and I would have had this taken care of. I talked to an attorney who's a mentor of mine who's going to help me grow into new areas of law. His staff attorney there, one of the attorneys who's been there for a while. The guy's like, we have a staff of 14 and we need more than that. I'm like, Jesus Christ, how much business are you bringing in? They have 4 or 5 attorneys, 4 or 5 paralegals, 3 or 4 secretaries, or assistants. I'm like, Jesus, you got 14 people there and you still need more? Like, that's the problem. It's like, the more successful you become, the more opportunities you get, the more people offer you work. And it's like, after a while, you just can't do it all. And I don't
Yeah.
want to do it all. I'm not a greedy person. If anybody knows anything about me, it's that I'm genuine. I'm not going to bullshit you. You'll know if I like you, don't like you. If I don't go out of my way to let you know I don't like you. But also, like, I'm not a material guy. I just enjoy experiences. And I don't like trauma. I don't really care for it too much or whatever. It's tough, when you're anytime you're working with people and clients, there's a lot of drama involved. So it's an exhausting job. And there's always opportunities. People want your time a lot, like outside of work. You grind it all every week, like 5 days a week. We might need to do this evening event or this weekend thing. Sacrificing weekend time, it's like, I only have so many hours, man. Like, especially with the kid coming up, right? Can't do it all.
No, yeah, definitely, bro. That's why, like, I like insurance. I really do like it. I really do love it. But it is time consuming. And once you leave the office, you don't leave the office. You know what I mean? Like, there's always something in your fucking head. Like, oh, I got to do this. I got to do that. The bar business, it's a little bit stressful when the bar's open just because you're making sure everything's going fine. You know what I mean? Everything else. But once I close the door and I leave and I go home, that's it. I don't have to worry about it. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing that I.
You're not taking work home with you.
Yeah, I'm not
so
taking
much.
work home with me. And I think that's the big thing about like businesses like that where it's a service business, and you know what I mean, you're providing a service to people, like a realtor, a lawyer, insurance, I mean, even like accounting, all that other stuff. You know what I mean? Like that stuff, even if you don't want to bring it home with you, mentally you're gonna be bringing home it with you because you're already thinking like, all right, I gotta get this done tomorrow, or I gotta get this done. So it is hectic, and yeah, trust
when
me.
you deal with deadlines too, like for me,
Yeah.
sometimes it could cost the client money if I fucking blow a deadline or something. Like it's stressful.
Yeah, and I get it. So what do you think your next step, other than like, are you gonna stay at the office where you're at on Narragansett, or?
Well, I'm
Central,
yeah,
right?
I know. You're just saying there against it, but yes, I mean I plan on it. I mean I own the building. That was nice. I think my dad would be proud of me on that. I got my
That's a
own,
dope building, bro. It's an
I've set
awesome
up my
building, awesome yard, awesome setup.
It's gotten better, I think, since last time we were there.
Yeah.
The inside of the office is very clean and organized now, and I'll show you before I leave. I don't know if you saw the most recent episode. I'm going to release a new episode tomorrow, and I have 2 more that are pre-recorded that I'm going to release over the next 2 weeks, and I'm going to be filming new ones after that. I just booked one for early February. I'm going to try to do one a week. I was like that for a while. The market got very busy, plus I was short-staffed during the holidays, so I didn't really have a chance to crank them out, but my goal would be to do about one a week or every other week.
Yeah, we're
So
talking
when I
about your
get back
podcast, right?
for the podcast. But yeah, the building is great, man. Like I have a big yard, and I wanted to thank you for helping me out with the party. You sent over a good bartender that you had. You connected me with the security. Those guys were great. I had a great party. It was that place in the backyard, dude. I had 2 giant ass tents set up, 20 by 20s or whatever. 2 of them. The bartenders had their own little couple tables set up as a bar with everything they needed.
Yeah,
Ran
yeah.
out of tequila, and we had a fucking lot of it too. We had vodka left over and shit at the end, but the tequila went. I had a band up playing the DJ, the whole thing. You can have a great party out there. I got married in that yard.
Yeah.
Right under the tree and everything. It's a beautiful tree. I exercise in the basement of the building. I got a punching bag down there. I got a treadmill. I got friggin' weights there. The upstairs floor, I host people for the UFC fights. I'm having one Saturday, January 21st. That's a great way to bring people together. The most I've had, I think, is 30 people show up, and it's at capacity. Then I don't even have any more chairs after that. Like,
Oh wow.
so but it's it's good having the building. What's the next step? Venturing out into the new areas of law, continuing to grow as a professional, as a person, getting involved in other things as well. I want to start petitioning the government for certain things, changes in the law, like the notice law in Cook County to get people out of your property and increase the rent. It's way too long. They changed it during COVID when the government seemed like they could do basically whatever they want. I think that needs to be changed. I think the eviction process in Illinois needs to be reformed.
Definitely.
Like in Indiana, you could evict somebody in just a couple of weeks, which when they're not paying you, like if you own property and you need to make money from it, you shouldn't have to wait fucking 6 months to get your shit back. That's ridiculous. Also, police issues, like in the city of Chicago, I believe that they have a bad crisis in policing on their hands. They're short-staffed by at least 1,000 officers, probably, but
Probably
by
more.
good estimates, and maybe more than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe more than 1,000. They don't have good qualified candidates that come in. It's a bad time for the police. The suicide rate amongst police officers is higher than it ever has been. I have a friend who was a good friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, who lived just down the block from me. He lived across the street from me on a couple houses down across the street when I grew up. Committed suicide, police officer.
Oh, wow, sorry to hear that.
So it's near and dear to my heart. Just went to the services. It happened just before Christmas. His family is now left without a father, and I don't want to name any names or whatever because that's their business. But we're there for them, and I believe that that's a very serious issue. So I want to. I'm not just a lawyer. In my life, I'll conquer one thing, and then I want to expand into other things as well. So that, and I want to set up like a couple of nonprofits. I want to set up one for like manhood mentors. I've been talking to people who, like single moms who, their son's asking them like, I don't know how to tie a tie at graduation and shit like that. Like, to teach skills, to make them available, and try to do it for as free of charge as much as possible.
Right.
And maybe get involved in maybe some education reform. And maybe even in the future take on, and when I say, I don't want to jump too quick, but education reform, like, I think there's certain things that people need to know, skills that they're just not teaching that would be very helpful. And I'm thinking on a bigger scale, but interactions with law enforcement outside the home and authority figures outside the home. What's legal, what's not legal, why police officers are going to react in a certain way when you do certain things or you say certain things. What's legal? Like, well, if an officer needs to pat you down to make sure they're dealing with somebody safe, that's legal to do. There's court cases support that because you can't just walk up. This person could have a gun or a knife. You can be asked to get out of the car during a traffic stop for the same purpose, for officer safety, or whatever the case may be. It's a lawful order. People don't realize that. I'm not getting out of the car. I don't have to do that. Yeah, you fucking do. You should have a valid license on you to identify yourself. Like, people need to know, like, if something goes wrong, like, this is why it happened. But people need to be able to do their job as long as we all understand the rules. And I don't think they teach the youth of this country that people aren't taught to respect police, I don't feel.
So I remember when I was going through criminal justice school or whatever you want to call it, that they would have officers come in all the time, and they had one guy come in. And he brought this pamphlet. I've never seen that pamphlet ever again. It was a little pamphlet, and it said what to do when officers
stop you.
Dude, he read it to us, explained it to us, and it was a little pamphlet. I don't know if I still have it. I might have it somewhere. But I'll tell you what. Ever since I got that pamphlet, I read it. He told us what to do. I've done it every single time I get stopped. Every single time, not every single time, maybe like twice I've gotten a ticket. But every other time, the cops was like, "Oh, thank you for everything you did while we stopped you. Let me go." And basically, all it is, bro, especially at night or if you have tinted windows, turn on your dome light, bring all your windows down, keep your hands on the steering wheel till they walk up to you, then you talk to them. You know what I mean? Because at that time already, they're walking up to your car, they see everybody, they see whatever's in your car.
They know you're not about to start shooting at them because they can see your hands.
Yeah, I mean, they can see your hands and everything else. So their stress level is way lower. Yeah. If you do all that shit and they're being assholes, they're just an asshole. I mean, like,
you get it. There was a time where me and three of my friends were just searched in the park. Our belongings, like, shit was blowing in the wind. I had receipts and all sorts of shit. And I was like, dude, are you gonna pick up my paperwork? And like, no, that's for you to do. I'm like, what the fuck? Wouldn't let us have our jackets on. It was freezing fucking cold. Yeah. Shit like that. But the where I learned how to deal with police was just from the same friend that kind of pushed me in the direction of going to law school. Literally right around the block here where El Famous Burrito is. Okay. We were trying to come over here to El Faro. We were out, and my guy went down a one-way street. He didn't know. He's not from around here. It was late. It was dark, whatever. We got pulled over in an alley. A cop approached from each side of the car. He stopped, kept his hands where they could see him. He says, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" And he's like, "Yes, sir. I think that was a one-way." He's like, "I'm not from around here. I was just coming to grab a bite to eat. I live, over here 10, 15 minutes away, whatever. My guy lives over here." But I didn't know. He's like, when I was already down there, it was too late. And he said, "Yes, sir," and no, sir, the whole time. And he was respectful. And they're like, "All right, just be careful, be safe." So I learned that whole respect thing because later on, I got stopped right here in Summit. I was on the way to Office Depot when I worked out there in Countryside. He's like, "Hey," he's like, "Do you know I pulled you over?" I was like, I'm not sure. He's like, you were going a little fast back there. I was probably doing about 10 over the limit or something. He's like, are you in a particular hurry? I went, well, sir, I work at Office Depot in Countryside. I'm just trying to get over there. I'm a little behind. And he's like, all right, let me take a look. I didn't have any priors at that time. Any tickets I had dropped off. And the guy let me go. He's like, hey, you know what? Just be careful. Drive a little slower. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
So, he could have gave me a ticket. Like, if I was a dick with him, probably would have given me a ticket. But fuck this guy. Like,
Yeah.
you're going to be rude to me for no fucking reason. I might have let you out of it if you were nice. You know what I mean? You're going to make my day harder. I deal with assholes all the time. You're just telling me they had a shootout right here by the bar down the street with a fucking SWAT team had to come.
Yeah.
They're shooting it out with cops, these people. This is what they deal with, man.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. But I think, dude, that pamphlet, they should give that out everywhere. Like, it's gotten me out of a bunch of tickets. I mean, and a lot of them I did deserve. And the funny thing is, the 2 tickets that I did get, those I didn't deserve. I don't feel like I deserved them. And all the other tickets that I got let go for, I did deserve them. But the cops weren't assholes, and they were just like, man, just get out of here. Like, you're going to work or whatever, get out of here. The other 2 assholes were just fucking dicks.
I've got my share of tickets. The one I got was right over where our buddy Freddie lives.
All right.
And, yeah,
Enforcement?
it was before I even knew him. But the guy, he tried to make it sound like he was being a nice guy. He's like, do you know I pulled you over? They want to have you admit that you were wrong. Yeah, you're not going to try to make up some excuse or whatever. So when you argue with them or you tell them, like, you're like, give them some bullshit, then they're like, no, fuck that. Like, I watched you. Don't call me an idiot, basically. They don't want to be like you're telling them they're a dumbass or something. Pulls me over. He says, I pulled you over. I'm like, not really. He's like, you yielded at 2 stop signs. I was like, oh, word? And he's like, but I'll only give you a ticket for 1. I'm like, oh, you're such a nice dude. Thanks. You know what I mean? He's like, I could give you 2, but I'll just give you the 1. I'm like, could you give me 0? 0 would be even better than 1.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know. I would probably go into maybe even more depth. I'd show videos of traffic stops and interactions and what ones went well and what ones went really badly and why.
That's really educational now.
The point I think is in society we've gotten to a little bit of absurdity. Like there was this video where this lady stabbed, and these are like teenagers or going into 20-somethings, right? They're kind of young. She stabbed one chick and was literally about to start hacking the other chick.
When the cop
shoots her like 4 times. It's
like, I remember that one.
Somebody commented on Twitter, and this was like a legit public figure, somebody in media, like, people get into knife fights. Like, kids have been doing this for a long time. Like, you don't have to kill them over it. It's like, dude, like, a knife will kill you really easily. It's a very gruesome way to die. To get stabbed up and cut up, like, that's a very gruesome thing. Like, I don't want to live in a world where a police officer is going to stand by and watch somebody stab the other person to death. Yeah. Because the police officer in that situation would have been damned if they did, damned if they didn't. If the other girl, if he stood there and let her stab the other girl, maybe get her in the neck or fucking whatever, because I've seen videos of people getting stabbed in the neck and they're dead like less than a minute later. They're falling down, dead, almost basically already dead. It's like he'd be sued then for failure to do his duty or something like that. And then if he shoots him, he's a fucking bad guy too. It's like, what do you want me to do? I'm not gonna go over there. She's already stabbed 2 people in front of me. I'm not gonna risk them either catching a stray or she turns the knife on me. Right. Because these people, if you're stabbing somebody at that point, I don't think it matters whether they have a uniform or not. And one thing that's kind of crazy, I've been watching a lot of these police-involved shootings. What's crazy that I'm seeing now is, like back in the day, I feel like you used to be like, oh shit, you better watch this police. Like you get in trouble or you could get hurt or whatever. They're carrying guns. Like people start shooting at the police really quickly. Like you could walk up and as soon as they're asking you to get out of the car, they open the door and pat, 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 pat. The guy already had a piece like ready to go.
Yeah, it's
crazy. It's like, when did it become acceptable to shoot at police officers? Like,
right.
I don't feel like it was like that when I was a kid. There was police-involved shootings. My mom was like, yeah, that fucking shit still happens. She's like, there was this Irish guy, I thought he was a good-looking cop back in the day. He got fucking shot and killed on the job. But I'm like, yeah, but it's in record numbers now. I guess, like, as we come to, like, an end point here, like, the big question I wonder about is, like, what does it mean to be American, like, right now? Like, as we speak, at this time in our country, what does that mean? What are we supposed to be proud of? What is our goal? Is a future? Like, where are we going? What values do we stand for? Freedom of speech, freedom of the press, honest and open debate. What is it that we stand for? Equality for all people, slowly interacting with people and not being racist. And like, where we go. Those sound like positive directions to go into. But I don't know, as a young man, I don't know what our national identity is right now. I think that's something like I want to talk about and promote and talk about for many years on our podcast, what it means to be American, what are our values, and what are we going to teach the young kids who are damaged by growing up in a social media time and in a cell phone time where they've blown all their dopamine, they're depressed after they're off of it, they're addicted to it, they're getting nearsighted, they can't keep a long attention span now. Our attention span is getting cut shorter and shorter by this fucking mind pollution that we watch through Instagram and TikTok. TikTok the worst probably, right?
Yeah.
Chinese crack cocaine app that they just try to addict everybody to, and fucking you're watching the worst dribble and nonsense. There's some good shit on there. You learn like some life hacks and some tricks, but sometimes you're watching like people like it's okay to be some weirdo with your hair dyed fucking blue and pink and like dancing like a stupid idiot around, like doing dumbass shit. Like,
yeah.
What are we're polluting the minds of these children. They've grown up with that in such a way that they're almost a subculture that we gave birth to. Like,
right.
I'm thinking about these things on a big level. I philosophize like that. So, like, for me, what can I do to... I feel like the country is now not better than the ones that our parents left to us. And what are we going to do about that as young men going forward, having our own kids? I think it starts with the individual level, like how we raise our kids, how we teach them, how we interact with other people, and how we teach our kids to do it. But what I want people is to be more on that positive state of mind. We're so much stronger together. We're so much more capable of many more things if we unite. You know what I mean?
No, definitely.
For the good.
Yeah.
You know, we're gonna live in a capitalist society. I believe freedom's the best thing because, like, I don't know if I already said this line at the beginning of the podcast. Not everybody's gonna be a champion, but you get to choose in America whether you're a winner or a loser.
Right.
You know what I mean? You won't be maybe the number one, but you can choose to be a winner. And I feel like we need to reinvigorate and re-energize that message and show it to the kids. Like, you can excel and be elite if you try hard enough. Right now, we don't have a direction. I think we're like a ship at sea without a moral compass. I've said that multiple times on this podcast, or not on this podcast, but the other podcasts I've been on, my own included. So that's kind of the last thing I'd leave you with. You know, I'm still down. We could wrap it up, or any other questions you have. I'm here to talk.
Oh, the last question.
That's what I think about. You know,
Yeah.
Those topics leading all the way up to who are we as Americans now at this time in our country.
Well, the last question, maybe you answered it right now. What advice would you have given Brian, little Brian? Now that you're with everything you know now,
for everything I know now,
in St. Joseph,
what I would tell myself, like, as the more complete, not fully complete, but the person who's grown, what would I tell that younger Brian with all the knowledge? Number one, learn to control your anxiety and emotion so that you can remain calm, focus on your breathing, observe. You might be good at talking, but you have 2 ears, listen twice as much as you speak. Let things speak for themselves, and recognize things for what they are. And you can have conversations without words, or you can see things like and hear things that you're just watching. When you can see energy or how people are interacting, or whether somebody's a little messed up or whether they've got a problem. You have sharpened the skill probably very well, and so has George and all these other people that work here. So what I would tell my younger self is, don't talk as much, listen more, be observational, and remain calm, control your emotions so that you can interact better. And also, be kind and confident. Because when you're kind and you get a positive reaction for somebody, then you're in more control because you can kind of do what you want from there. You've taken the driver's seat and you're now on a ride together. Like, you've been nice to them, they're laughing, you're having something in common. So, remain calm, be observational, be kind, because it's contagious. It's a universal language. It allows you to do greater things. So be kind to everybody and just play it cool. You know what I mean? Like, when I was younger, I had ADD. I'd be bouncing all around, talking a million miles an hour, which I still do. And just jump from topic to topic, or like not handle things as well as I could have. So remaining calm and being good to people and being confident and sharing with other people, involving other people, investing them in what you're doing, and things will multiply and grow very quickly. Surround yourself with good people. you know, there's a lot of truth to you're like the average of the people you hang out with, right? Or you're the average of the five people you hang out with.
That's a big one, bro. Like
huge, very huge.
You gotta watch out who. Like my parents always used to tell me that, and I guess maybe like the older you get, the more you know what it means. Because when you're young, you're like, what do you mean? I mean, like, but now that I'm older, like that is a big thing. I mean, like, yeah, you gotta be careful who you spend your time with and who you let into your energy, into your circle. You know what I mean? Because
the energy, you don't let other people affect your energy. You gotta be very careful because you got a limited amount, and it hurts to get it damaged.
Yeah, for sure. That's it, brother. It's a wrap. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. I know we did this a couple of times before. They were always good conversations. I'd like to have you back on again. Now, what I want to do this year is I want to get back into it. I want to try change up the subjects a little bit too. I don't want to get too controversial with like certain things. You know what I mean? Because I know certain people have certain strong opinions on certain things, like when it comes to law enforcement or when it comes to government or stuff like that. I don't want to get into like not argumentative point, but you know what I mean, like I'd rather have a chill conversation with people and let people get people to know people more than than just someone spitting out their opinions on what they think. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, but for me personally, I think these conversations need to be had, and I think it's a path to healing. But I just want to do it in a way that is reasonable and respectful, and that everybody can voice their opinion. And
definitely.
But just say it in a way I personally, the last opinion I would leave with people is just I think that law and order is the glue that holds society together. And I don't know if I want to live in an area like that I can't feel safe for my kids or whatever, or for myself when I'm out there.
Yeah, because
I don't want to live in the wild, wild west, man. We're better than that.
I still haven't finished it. I haven't finished part 1. I gotta watch part 2. When you had the lawyers on for the Safety Act, I think that was a good one. There's still a lot of questions I have, but
yeah, that it's on hold temporarily. We kind of went through it. We just focused on one part of that law. But, I think people just need to realize you don't have to agree with everybody, but you can talk in a reasonable way, and you can listen and hear somebody out. Just at least know where they're coming from at the end of the day.
Exactly. Like, that's the biggest thing. I mean, people, right away, you don't agree. And I think right now we're in a society where labels are a huge thing. I think right now if I say something, I'm a conservative, or I'm this, or I'm that, or I'm a MAGA, and it's like, bro, like, I don't have to agree with everybody. Like, I don't have to agree with you. I don't have to agree with him. I have my own opinion. I could grab a little bit of everybody's, and that's what I think.
I'm kind of like that, yeah. I am a mixture of a lot of different beliefs all at once.
Yeah,
but the main thing I believe in is freedom of choice. I believe in the individual getting making a choice about what they put in their body, what they don't, how they live their life, what religion they are, if they're gay, straight. I believe in the freedom.
Right.
What I hope is that we get better, more equal justice for people in all communities of all races, where the police aren't, they're reflective of the community, and it's like, it's not just some white person getting involved in police brutality in a black community. Like, the police force should be as diverse as the people it serves, I feel. But that's a very specific topic. But in general, I believe in freedom at the end of the day to make the choice yourself. I don't like a lot of this government interference, and you can tell with the interactions you've had to deal with the government is like they get in the way of running a good business sometimes.
Dude, my biggest thing, all right, and this is the last thing I'm going to say on that, because I could talk about this all night. My biggest thing with all this stuff, especially with the cities, the towns, and everybody else is, like the city of Chicago, perfect example. They can't handle stuff, so who do they punish? The businesses, because they make the businesses close down. You could look at Maxwell Street by University Village. Yeah. People are gonna say, it's because it's the people that live there that didn't want all that stuff going on there, didn't want all those people there at night. First of all, don't move to the city if you want peace and quiet. That's always been my thing. I remember when I was young, late 90s, early 2000s, downtown, you could go cruising, you could go do everything else. it was downtown. It was the city. It's supposed to be lively. It's supposed to be like New York City. You know what I mean? It's supposed to be loud. You know what I mean?
Busy. A lot of people around.
Yeah,
there's partying going on, and people are drinking.
That's what it is. It's
Yeah.
downtown.
Yeah.
You had a bunch of people that fucking migrated into the city. Then they start complaining about the noise, and it's like, well, bro, you went from the suburbs where it's quiet, you moved into the city. Like, what did you expect? It is what it is. But now you have a lot of these people where like they had that thing where the alderman wanted to shut down all the 5 a.m. Businesses in River North and all this other stuff because they were having issues down there. The business could only do so much. If the city doesn't get on it and doesn't help the business owners, you know what I mean, or doesn't do that and fix the problem, like hiring more police officers, you know, letting them do their jobs better, then at the end of the day, the only people that are losing are the people of the city of Chicago, because that's less tax income coming into the city. The business owners lose that. That's less jobs and everything else. And why? Because the politicians couldn't do their job. The same thing here in the suburbs where they want to shut stuff down all the time. It doesn't affect anybody positively except for someone that, you know, that just, and even then, like, people that are going to be affected aren't out at that time of the night anyways. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, to me, I don't understand. I don't get it. For me, I feel like it's just an easy fix to just say, all right, you know, we're just going to shut everything down. And then it's like, you didn't fix the problem. Then you just fucked everybody on that one.
I mean, as far as shutdowns go, you know, and interfering with private business, we have a bunch of people that aren't health experts making health-related decisions, and it turns out that it was probably worse to do the shutdowns the way they did. You know, in terms of, like, we were going to get the virus anyway because it's a respiratory illness, so when you breathe, you give it to other people. It's like when you go home, you're going to be in your fucking home. If you were out working and shit, like, it doesn't take much, right, to breathe in to viral particles. You're going to shut down when everybody's basically going to get it anyway. In fact, the reason that I've heard some doctors talking and saying that the reason that we see so many variants is because we've done things like the vaccine that the virus has to adapt to and change into something else. So it may have been better if we just got the few initial, the original virus, the alpha, and then the beta, the gamma, delta, omicron. If you had just gotten them early on, maybe we wouldn't be this far along with all the different variants. It would have, like, people would have got to a state where they had natural immunity from the
herd immunity.
The virus sooner. Yeah, herd immunity. So we had that. You know, it ruined some businesses. Like, it didn't need to be that way. I think that the thing that I think the problem really is.
Well, I'm not even talking about, like, the shutdowns because of COVID. The shutdowns were because of crime.
Yeah, you're saying that in these particular situations, you're saying the crime.
Like, these are all crime, or again, people are complaining because there's people out on the street. But again, I mean, like, bro, you moved into the city. What did you think?
Well, if I had to sum up what I think the problem is that the leaders we have won't take a stand and won't take tough stances because it's easier them to go with the flow of going in the direction of the people that complain the loudest. And it's like, sometimes as a real leader, you have to be like, no, this is not the society I want to live in. And if you, like, when you start looking at some of these things that get taken out of context, first of all, the number of police involved shootings where, like, something that's like where they were in the wrong are the minority of incidents of police dealing with people. It's a small fraction, but it gets publicized the most. They speak about it the most, and they show just the part where the bad things happens. It's like, you know, in justified ones, you end up seeing when they release all the footage later, like, holy shit, look what this motherfucker was doing before they got shot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or they tried to shoot an officer or pull a gun on an officer. So it's like, I think in the city, in terms of the crime, it's easier for these politicians to get elected because if they side with the complete liberal stance of, like, defund the police type of bullshit that actually is going on in certain cities in America.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They let them destroy the city of Chicago. You got to watch it when your own eyes when you and Ray went down there on your on your mountain bikes. Yeah. Like, that's not the city I want to live in. You're going to allow people to destroy the city. And apparently they knew about that shit. Apparently the hotels in the area were like 80% capacity, and the hotel owners were telling the mayor, they're like, something's up here. Like, there's a lot of people in from out of town right now. Like,
dude, and it was funny that you bring that up. The other day I was driving home, and I forgot. I don't know what I was watching or what I was listening to something. It was a podcast, and it had to do with like the riots and all that other stuff. And I go, dude, like, I went down there because I wanted to see it for myself. Because I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want nobody to tell me anything.
Yeah.
I wanted to see it for myself and witness it. And I remember we were listening on the police scanners. We were down there. We were seeing all the looting going around. And I mean, like, we were riding our bikes everywhere, watching it. And dude, you could hear through the radios, like, hey, like a caravan of 30 cars are coming from Indiana right now. A caravan of this many cars coming from, like, they knew everything that was going on, and it was chaos. I feel like that's why that was a cool experience. It was a crazy experience, but that's why, like, after everybody was like, oh, defund the police and everything else, I'm like, man, like, you guys don't realize what you guys are asking for. Like, I already saw what could happen. I'm like, all these people that want that, they're not ready for what's gonna. If that, I don't think it'll ever happen. But if it were to ever happen like that again, you know what I mean? Like, they're not prepared for it. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean, we have to figure out, like, well, if you defund the police, it's still a crime for us to take the fucking law in our own hands. So if they're not doing it, then who is? Like, if we start going out there and shooting people or getting shot or interacting this way in public, like, the results just aren't good in the long term. Like, you need somebody neutral to do it, because, you know what I mean, somebody who's like a third party that's removed from the actual situation, that's not on that citizen level. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, like, I believe in self-defense to the 100% fullest. Like, the police aren't going to be there when you get shot, unless you're really, really lucky, you know what I mean, that they're around when the shooting starts. And neither is the media or any of these people who'll tell you how to think about it afterward. But you're the last one at the end of the day that has to stand up and live with the people in the street. I just look forward to a day, or hope for a day, as I bring in a son into the world, that we can interact with each other better, and that police are respected as, like, when you get out of fucking line, these are the people that are going to come and handle you, or have to investigate it to try to bring you to justice. Like, this is not a us versus them. Like, we should be on the same page of, like, we don't want this in our communities. We want people to feel safe when they come here, or when they go out the street later, when they're walking back to their car. You know what I mean? That they don't have to worry about getting jumped and shit. I've had it happen. Used to get jumped right here in Summit.
Yeah.
I didn't personally. I got lucky. But I've had friends who used to come out of Club Europe over here on fucking Archer Avenue.
Yeah.
Van roll up, guys that hop out and beat the shit out of them right there in the street. Or it would be the guys like, I had two buddies came out of there one night. I went to St. Joe's Grade School, and they got so bad, they got beat so bad, they sued the bar under what they call dram shop liability for over-serving these people at their establishment.
No shit.
Guys didn't get laid that night. They got fucking furious when they went out, and they were looking for a fight. Fucking beat these guys. Beat them really bad by their own car, dude. Just like 4 dudes jumped 2 guys and beat the shit out of them.
That's fucking crazy.
Yes, this shit used to happen all the fucking time. Do I want to live in that society? No. The reason it didn't happen more is because when they used to stack Summit police cars, 2, 3, or 4 of them right there outside the club, just to make sure that shit didn't got out of hand when the place was closing for the night.
Yeah.
I seen them over here literally leading a gang down the street, like a fucking big-ass group, like 20, 30 people with billy clubs and shit in the back. All the officers were like, keep on going, get your cars, get the fuck out of here. Summit wasn't playing back in the day.
Yeah.
But now it's like everything's on camera. You got people that are interfering from outside the situation, filming you. You got your body cam.
Oh,
You're
cameras are
being
huge
judged
now.
to the fucking T by
Yeah.
somebody who's never had to do a police job in their life, are the ones that are writing the rules how you do it. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shit wrong, brother, but
Salute.
cheers, man. Congrats on being a father. I'm going to follow you. I'll take tips from you. We'll probably have our kids doing shit together, bring them here to events and all that.
That'll be cool.
Glad to be here, and glad to be here when you own it, man.
Thank you.
It's really cool that a friend of mine owns this place. I don't party as much as I used to. If you bought this place like 10 years ago or 15 or 20 years ago,
Yeah.
I'd have been here every fucking night.
I would have been partying hard too back then, I think.
But
I wouldn't have been ready.
You only see me once or twice a month, probably.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, when I come in. But it's cool that you have it. May it flourish for many years to come.
Hopefully, man.
And
Little by little.
glad you're doing it, man. You're living the dream, right? You own this place for people to come to have a great time. You know, how cool is that?
Yeah.
Hopefully, you're making good money doing it. You know?
Once, if Summit changes their little hour thing, we'll be good again.
Keep on working at it, brother. And if I can do anything to help too, let me know. Like, if we can help you get petitions going, or try to fucking, I don't know. I don't want to get too involved with the politics of it.
I know,
but
me either. That's why.
something that
That's
we can
why
get this
I've
changed.
just been doing
Stronger Business Association locally. or
But
something.
the condo association, a business association is coming. So hopefully that'll wake up the people that, that are in power, or the people that are in town, and make them realize that businesses are I feel like Summit Dude has so much to offer logistically and everything else, and it's just
They could grow more if you were let off the leash a little bit.
if they would just, I mean, they're just old school, they're old fashioned. I mean, that's what it is. They don't see, they don't, I don't think they see the potential, or they don't want to see the potential, or they don't really care. I mean, they're just there for a paycheck. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, there's a lot of other towns that I work with or see, and I see the difference in between, you know, leadership roles and everything else, and I see, you know, towns that flourish and towns that really get stuff done, and then I see towns that, you know, stay stagnant, and everybody says, oh, you know, why isn't our town like that? It's because the people that are in office are not doing what they want, what they should be doing. You know what I mean? Or they just don't know, they just don't want to do it. You know what I mean?
Innovation should come from the ground up instead of the top down. Like, so the rules stifle that. Like, you could be doing so much more as a business if you didn't have shit to stand in the way or limitations on what you can do.
Yeah, dude. But I'll give you. So my other business in Berwyn, right? Dude, Berwyn, awesome town to do business in. Super business friendly. I mean, like, they help you out. Like, I remember when I first started my business in Berwyn, the ladies and everybody else, they would call me and tell me, oh, how are you doing? This and this. They helped me find a location. I mean, they want businesses there. They want to help them. I mean, like, there's no red tape. There's none of this other stuff. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of stuff.
I think we need more people like that.
Yeah.
Because that's where vibrant communities come from.
That's where
vibrant comes from.
Yeah, and that's where you see businesses wanting to do business. You know what I mean, coming in, and the more businesses there are in town, you know what I mean, like, it's better for everybody. It's better for the community. You know what I mean, like,
can you imagine business owners coming in and just want to build up your community? Like, you don't even have to do anything. Just let us do what we're going to do, and your place is going to be the shit. You know, we're going to have this restaurant here, this restaurant here. Everybody's going to come. We're bringing out their family. Tax dollars are coming in. Come on, baby.
And that's the tax dollar. You know what I mean, like, don't get me started on that. Let's cut it now before.
I do want to ask you onto my podcast again sometime in the next couple of months, just to talk more about this and how it's going and what it's like in your managerial role and what are your next moves and
sure.
opportunities for growth. So thanks for having me on, and fucking let's have you hop on a Blessed Life and chat a little bit on there too. You can tell me more about how all this is going.
Definitely, I want to do that.
Cheers, bro.
Cheers.
Peace out, y'all.